All right, I see the recording is on, so I am welcoming everyone to the Battery Park City Committee meeting of Manhattan Community Board 1. Today is May 3rd, and my name is Justine Kucha. I'm the chair of the committee. Jeff Galloway is my co-chair, and my committee, you can see their faces, their beautiful faces online here. And I welcome anyone who's in attendance as well. We have a decent agenda going forward, and I think we should get going. I think first we are going to be having let me tell you a little bit about the way we work things here, just as a reminder. So we operate under Robert's rules, which means that we're going to have the presentation. I will then call on people first from the committee members, then I will call on people who are on CB1, and then I will call on attendees from the community. Everybody will have a chance to speak. I will at the beginning, I'll let you go, but I may interrupt you and say, okay, we need to move it along. So we want to have some timeframes and some discussion. We want to have robust discussion. Everybody has a chance to speak, but we also want to give everybody a chance to speak. So with that said, I thank everybody, and let's get rolling. I see Peyton Elder is on as a panelist. Peyton, put your camera on if it's not already.
Yep.
There you
I
go.
just
And
named,
then please, or go ahead with your, hey, Peyton.
so can I just ask that we pull in Courtney Whitelock and Annie
Is she
Perez
here now?
Chica as well? Yep, they should
Yep,
both be on.
I
And
see
Annie
her.
Perez, perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks for having us tonight. Hi, everyone. My name is Peyton Elder. I'm a senior associate at Brookfield Properties. Today, I'm here with my colleague, Courtney Whitelock, as well as Annie Perez Chica, who works for Brand Guild, which is the agency that we've contracted to create and install Portside. So tonight, we'd really like the opportunity to present to you Portside 2023. Consistent with prior years, Portside will be an open to the public free programming activation. And we'll be looking to have that up from Memorial Day through Labor Day this year. So I will turn it over to Annie to talk through kind of general layout, concept, and walk through some of the programming that we have planned this summer.
So much. Welcome, Annie. Just unmute yourself and go ahead. See, you're still muted. And also welcome, Courtney. Annie is still muted.
And Peyton, who will we? Do you have slides? Should I give presentation privileges to someone specifically?
Yes, could you give those over to Annie, please?
Annie, do you hear us or see us? Okay, you've got presentation privileges. I see that. But you're still
She may be having a little trouble. Her video was frozen, so I don't know if that indicates a connection issue or not.
Maybe if she's having video problems, someone else should be presenting.
Oh.
Oh, there you go, Annie. We see you now, but we don't hear you. Now we go.
There we go.
Hi guys. Sorry, I was just like,
It's okay.
hello everyone.
That's my usual state, so don't worry about it. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If I'm able to share, I will, and I will walk through. Give me one moment. Walk through this deck. My apologies. Can you all see my screen?
There we go. Yep.
Oh, great. Fantastic. I'm having some issues with seeing you. So this is a floor plan. What you're going to see first is a floor plan. Those of you familiar with Portside from last year will see.
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second. Can you make it full screen?
Yeah, and if you could download that and then open it in preview or PowerPoint and blow it up.
Yes, I am trying. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's
internet.
just going to be hard for people to see.
Yeah, no, because it's so
And then they're
deep.
going to ask you a million questions. So
No, please. Let me see.
Go.
This is working.
I'm like giving you agita as you start to try to do your presentation. I'm sorry.
No, please. I am
Yeah,
There
I
you
think
go.
that's
That's good
much
enough.
better.
Yep, that, we can see it.
Success. Fabulous, guys. So moving through here, the initial screen here, you'll see the floor plan. So as in years past, you'll see the delineation of the kiosk where Tartinery exists. That is the food and beverage service that is out on Portside. We also have here for everyone's review, number of seats, and then an overview of what those seats actually are and the breakdown of those. Moving through, and please stop me if there's any questions. Moving through, this next slide gives you a general overview. These are renderings of the furniture and the scenic view of each of these spots, looking at both ground level, deck level, what we call deck level, boat pod seating, and then entry and exit way. Moving through, this is a general programming overview, and this is the draft schedule. So we have broken it up similar to what we did last year. So looking at, and again, all of these events are free and open to the public. So we look at children's programming, and that is anything from a nautical experience with the marina to a seashell crafting class. We also have curated experiences and curated maker experiences. Those are crafting events, floral events, plant making, oyster shucking. Beach Read book drops will return again this year. This was very popular last year. Free books available to the community, dropped 3 times, 100 books each time. People loved that. Morning break series, this is for really, we look at exercising your mind and your creative spirit. So journaling and calligraphy classes, free journals will be available to people. And then TBD is a live music on the calendar. So attached, you'll find a calendar that lists all of those things that have draft dates for us going from June through August.
And
So
I'll
if
just
anyone
jump
has
in
any
here, and
questions.
the live music is TBD right now because, as some of you may know, we, alongside Tartinery, went for a SLA amendment of their liquor license to incorporate live music out on the plaza. And so we're still waiting to hear back from the authority on that.
I'm sure we're gonna have questions about that, but I'll let you keep going. We'll come back to it.
And I think fair to say
That-
we're wrapped up here.
Yep,
So
that
we're
is
happy to open it up
really
to
the
questions.
There you
general
go.
overview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, questions from the committee, please raise your hands. But I guess I have a question. I guess if you went to the SLA, will you also have to present it to the, help me, somebody? I want to call it our licensing committee. I guess
Yeah.
it's going to come to us too. Okay.
We
Not
went
me,
we
but-
went to the licensing committee about 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
Okay. Don't remember, but that's okay. And I guess the hours, so when are you gonna shut down on a Tuesday
Yeah.
and a Thursday? Do you
So
remember?
these are going to be consistent with last year, consistent with how any of the music that, background music really that's out there now is out there. And Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 9 p.m. right now. And I'd also like to offer up to this group, as I have in the past, my personal cell phone number if there are issues going forward, because community is top of mind for us and we want to make sure that there's no disturbances.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate that, Peyton. Yes, we
Yeah.
definitely take a phone number. I see Jeff's hand is up. I want to say that I remember last year we had the conversation about the sound from the speakers. And even when you were on or in trying to enjoy the space, at one point they were too loud, but then you addressed it and made them
Yeah.
lower. And
Yeah.
I mean, as a person who was there, it was fine. I don't recall there were complaints after that, but I would hope that we could start off at that level. And
Absolutely.
even with the loud music. But I will now pass this over to Jeff Galloway. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, it's really a follow-up on the same point. As you know, there's a large residential complex that overlooks this space. I don't really remember last year there being any significant residential problems or complaints for this music at Tartanery, but it wasn't live music. And so I think it's important that the volume level with the live music be consistent with whatever it was last year that didn't disturb the neighbors, because people are eating dinner, relaxing or whatever they're doing, or maybe even joining you down there. But when they're home, they want to be home. Is that the plan in terms of the volume level and the direction of speakers and so forth?
Absolutely. That was first thing that came to mind when we started having the discussions about live music on the Upper Plaza. So we will ensure that consistent with levels of last year and that there's no disturbances to the community.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And if there is, we will remedy it immediately.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys were very responsive last time, which is probably why there were no crazy complaints. I think even you had some issues or some discussion back and forth with the restaurant that's there.
Lay District.
Thank you. And you worked it out, so that was good because it does get loud. But so the curated, if we could go to the next page, curated makers experience, or is that what, like Sips Ahoy or something? What does that mean?
Sure, those are lots of different kinds of things, but when we say makers, we mean shell crafting. So last year we did some fun crafts where we did had some frames and we attached shells. We also have some additional things with some potting and some plants. So every one of these is looked at for like a crafting experience for the public.
That is so cool. And where will this be broadcast or advertised so people will know?
We have that issued via the Brookfield Place website. It's available to everyone. It's also on Eventbrite. And so that is where it's most accessible to the public. It's available also through the website with the links to Eventbrite. And again, those are all free and open to the public.
Is there a way we can share this calendar with the community board?
Absolutely.
For those of us who are challenged to go on, how's that? And I see Mary Ann's hand went up. I wonder if that's not what she's going to ask, but I will call on her in a second. But yeah, I would love to know when this stuff is, and I think it's lovely. Go ahead, Mary Ann.
I was going to say, I hope the Battery Park City Authority will also communicate it, because they've got a web page of activities for seniors, and that it would be great to have that stuff posted there as well as put out in their monthly newsletter.
I'm not sure if Nick Bordone is on, but
Yeah, I don't see him yet.
yeah, we definitely welcome.
He's there. I see him as
Let's
a
send it.
an attendee. Yeah. So
Let's send it to him so he
Yeah,
could communicate.
absolutely.
Okay.
and then also send it to Lucian, because this way we can try to put it out there too, and
Yeah.
part of our newsletter. Just because it's just nice to have it out there and get the people knowing. But this sounds lovely. I don't see any other hands. I'm looking at the attendees section. I don't see any hands. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing a
Yeah.
great job last year, and for hopefully a lovely summer that we're looking forward to now. And
Yeah,
Peyton,
we're looking forward
if
to
you,
it.
yeah, if you give us access to your phone number just in case there's an
Yeah.
issue, and I assume that even if there is one, we'll be responsive quickly. You all will be responsive quickly. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will send my phone number along with the calendar.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye.
All right. So, let's see. I want to view all. I had told, what time is it? 6:20. Greg Shendlin is on, but I had told him we would do the other, we would kind of jump around a little bit, because folks who want to be participating in the ombudsman chat may be looking to sign in after 7. So I think that perhaps we will take, if I see that Ryan Torres is here and Nick is here. Is that okay, Ryan and Nick, if we jump you?
It's okay with me.
Okay,
Us or
perfect.
jump to us?
Jump to you. You go first.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you go first.
Justine, I don't know what to do with myself going when it's still daylight.
I didn't say you could do your whole presentation, Nick. Just
Oh, I
just
see.
Ryan.
I see. See,
No,
that's
I'm
what I
kidding.
get.
That's what you
That-
get, just for being too pushy. I'm only
That's
kidding.
what I
Nick.
get for
Thank
being
you.
too pushy.
That's it. All right. Okay, so Ryan, welcome. Introduce yourself and Lucian, why don't you pull up the agenda just so we can see what Ryan's going to be talking about, which is going to be lovely, and then we can go from there. And Ryan, do you have slides or anything you want to talk about or bring up?
I do. I
Yes.
think
Lucian, I sent those to you as I was
Yep.
running from the subway. I think you should have them, but thank you. And thank you, Justine and the team.
Oh, I got you.
I know you do. You always do. You never let me down. And thank you for this. So you'll recall, I'll just kind of give a little kind of primer here for Ryan. So last April, we looked back to what we had presented, and we had recalled that we had done a parks operations kind of spring update last April for the committee. This was April 2022. And seeing as Ryan's team obviously does such great work, every month they feature in kind of a standalone blog that we push out called BPC Parks Happenings, and we replicate portions of that or most of it in our report to the committee each month. We thought it would make sense, and thank you for indulging us, Ryan, to come back and kind of give an update this year for what you can expect to see in our parks as the weather continues to improve. So thank you for that. And with that, I will turn it over to Ryan. She can kind of go through some of the highlights and take any questions.
No, thank you both. I really appreciate it. And as you're saying this, it makes me remember Kathy Gupta, because this was something that was near and dear to her heart, and this presentation was always near and dear to her heart. So
I know it.
that's a wish to her and her
That's
family.
right.
Go ahead, Ryan,
right.
take it.
yeah, thanks. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I'll keep it brief. It's always a pleasure getting a chance to talk to you guys and updating everybody about the great stuff that we're doing in parks operations. And so I'm Ryan Torres. I'm the Vice President of Parks Operations. So I oversee the maintenance and the horticulture departments, who basically take care of all of the open spaces within Battery Park City. So the spring is a really exciting time, and it just kind of leads into the summer when it gets really, really busy. Thank you, Lucian. And so my team is super excited about kind of getting out there and just, getting things ready. We do all the basketball hoops, as you can see, in this picture. We really try to do a lot of the preparatory work so that everybody can just nice and easy do whatever they want to do within our open spaces and enjoy it all, and that it's always ready. You can do the next slide. Oh, thank you. Yep. And the team, we have hundreds of plants that come in every spring as we continually supplement our gardens, mostly native plants. So we're kind of in there preparing all of these spaces, getting ready for all of that, flowers and lush plantings that you'll see throughout the summer, fall, winter, even. Irrigation is obviously a big part of what keeps our landscape so happy and so successful. So this time of year, you might see lots of digging, maybe even a couple of holes in the gardens. Those are often moments where the winter has been unkind and the irrigation has maybe popped, or some animal has, needed a source of water. So we're constantly repairing our netafim, which is underground, in an effort to keep the water evaporation at a minimum, get that water right to the root system, keep those plants healthy. So don't be alarmed if you see a little bit of digging here and there. That's just something that's gets done a lot in the spring, although it is a 365 day of the year kind of job. Next slide. I'm really happy to report that our lawns are open. I thought that the winter season, we were able to be selective in what lawns that we closed during the winter months. And I think that I can happily say that most of the lawns, if not all the lawns, survived the use. It was a light winter too with snow, so people were definitely out there. But they're all open. They are looking good. We're taking the opportunity for this cool kind of spring weather to do some extra overseeding in areas that are just more heavily used or popular. And so you'll see some of the team out there kind of, you know, with machines going back and forth over it. But I expect the lawns to be great as always. We're, you know, kind of getting to the tail end, but we try to do a lot of tree work over the winter time while everybody is maybe not out in the open spaces as much, trying to get some of those trees back in shape, get rid of any limbs that need to be removed. You'll see some tree work from time to time along the street. That's part of a contractor that we have, and they kind of help with some of the more harder to reach stuff, but that'll be ongoing throughout the spring. And then our team just out there, you know, fixing the benches, you know, taking care of the pavers, the lights, you know, on the bridges and everything that they kind of do. Next slide. It's May, right? Which is exciting. It not just gets better when the weather kind of turns, but also exciting. The team is here from 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night. So our later shift has started. So our restrooms, the Irish Hunger Memorial, will be opened later. Our team with the weather, not just with the longer hours because more people come out and it's lighter for longer. We'll be doing wash downs of the Esplanade or other areas that often get used. So we kind of close those down from time to time to just be able to really kind of power wash those, give them the attention and the care that they need. We'll be closing the dog runs for a brief period on a daily basis to do our normal wash downs of the dog run. And so, again, just in an effort to keep everything kind of at the standard that we've all come to expect. So that's really exciting. Continually take out the landfill and the recycling cans. We have hundreds of cans that are throughout the open spaces of Battery Park City. The team does it at least daily, if not twice. The Police Memorial, we had a great event, and the team, you know, is constantly upkeeping that. Our beloved Lily Pond, James, for everybody who kind of knows him in the area, he's getting ready for that to come. Next slide. Yep, you're good, Lucian. Yeah, you can do the next slide. And so I wanted to just maybe stop for a moment and just talk about our permeable paver pilot project. I have to say that slowly, otherwise it comes out a bit of a mosh. But as outlined in our sustainability plan, we do have some milestones to pilot different permeable pavers. And so this is kind of what you're seeing. So the parks operations teams, we've chosen 4 locations. Those 4 locations are in, as you can see on the left side picture is South Cove. The middle picture is the Upper Esplanade near Albany. And the right one, the right picture, or at least to me, the right picture is up by Rockefeller. The 4th location, which we haven't started, is also in Rockefeller. Each location also has different pavers. So each paver is a different type of permeable paver. And so it's not just about necessarily the design, although we're obviously checking some of that out as well, but the sizes, why they're permeable, the foundation that each one of these needs is a little bit different. And so by trialing these different spaces and these different types of pavers, we're able to not just increase permeability throughout Battery Park City, which again is one of our big milestones that we're trying to accomplish as outlined in our sustainability plan, but it also gives the parks operations team, we have masons, right, who typically deal with all of the pavers throughout Battery Park City. This project allows the opportunity for the masons on our team to learn what's available, how do you install it, how do we maintain it, how does it work, does it really work, you know, does the water really run through at a rate that we're okay with, and so that as we start to incorporate, if we start to incorporate, because again this is just a pilot, if we start to incorporate more permeable pavers within Battery Park City, you know, the parks operations team will feel better and well informed about you know, helping make some of the decisions about what type of permeable pavers. Oh, I was so close to getting through it without stumbling. What type of permeable pavers that we might install, whether it's through ourselves or other contractors with upcoming, work that we have. Our team will be really well informed, to kind of say like, hey, no, let's not use that one. Let's use this one. Or, hey, we found that blah, 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 right? I don't know. We're still going through those motions. So it might seem like some extra, construction work that usually goes above and beyond my team's daily work. And it is, usually we're kind of, fixing little pieces of pavers. But if you see any of this kind of work, it is just us kind of testing the water, seeing what's out there so that we can, just take it forward in whatever way that might be. I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions about this particular topic now, or if you want me to just finish the presentation, we can roll back to it. Yeah.
I have some questions, but because I'm thinking this might be the most controversial, but why don't you finish and then come back to it? Is this
Okay.
way we just see?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so next slide. Thank you. Yep. And I would be amiss if I didn't, come and take the opportunity to just remind everybody about the really successful composting programs we have. Parks Operations, we collect up to 2 or more 100 pounds every day of food waste that everybody kind of drops off at one of our compost locations. That green bin on the left there is what that looks like. You can look for some more locations to be put out this summer in the upcoming months. So we're hoping to be able to capture even more so that we can compost more. To date, we've collected over 7,600 pounds of food that we've been obviously successfully composting. And just a reminder that right now, even though in the near future, hopefully we're looking to expand what we can take, but for now, what we take is vegetables, fruit, tea bags, coffee grounds, spent flowers, any of that type of material. What we don't take is obviously plastic, meat, bones, fats, oils, things of that nature. But we do have some projects in the pipeline that will hopefully be able to expand some of that. But stay tuned for that information. For now, we'll just keep it to what we've always taken. And then I just wanted to also update everybody here that our dog waste compost, I'm sorry, Lucian, I'm still on the same compost slide. I'm sorry. Our dog waste, I'm sorry. It's a great picture of the team installing some of the new receptacles there. Our dog waste composting program is successful. We're still going strong. We've collected over 1,200 pounds of dog waste this year, which will be, converting to compost over the next couple of months. We were able to expand, that's the picture on the right, up until earlier this year or late last year, I can't really remember. The receptacles were only in our dog runs, but we were able to add 3 on the Esplanade, kind of between the Esplanade Plaza and right before South Cove, in an effort just to see how we respond to collecting even more dog waste, because we do have the ability to collect more. We just need people to participate. So just wanted to remind everybody about that program as well if you are a pet owner. Next slide, Lucian. Let's see where we're at. Zero waste. We still have really great and ambitious goals to become a certified zero waste in our operations and open space. Our operations are, almost there. Actually, we've done lots of changes in how we procure things, how we manage the things that we no longer need, whether it's reuse or salvage or things along those lines. And this summer, we're going to be really focusing on the public part of it. Obviously, it's a little harder to manage the waste that's collected from our public spaces, but that's not slowing us down. We're going to keep trying to reduce all of that. So we continue to do waste audits. We do at least 4 a year, where the team literally collects all of the waste in the open spaces, typically over close to or over 2,000 pounds, which we would normally collect in a day. We sort through it. We see what's going on. There's a few things that we're going to kind of maybe, pilot or trial this summer. We're going to find select locations that we might start reducing some of the landfill cans that you see, just to, kind of see what happens. I don't think it'll be super obvious, but I do hope that it has a positive impact. Of course, if it has a negative impact, they'll go right back, right? Like we're not trying to clean up the trash on the ground. So going to try some of that. We're going to be looking to maybe incorporate temporary signage as a way to educate people to, reduce what you're bringing in the parks, compost what you can, recycle what you can. The rest goes in the landfill, that type of stuff, to make sure that it's sorted in the right way. So that'll be really exciting. I mentioned before that we're going to up our compost locations and hopefully collect more of that, which will ultimately reduce or divert what we're sending to landfill. So we're really, really excited about these goals, even though they are ambitious and they feel like giant steps, but we're just taking it one day at a time. So I can report back at the end of the year on how we're doing with that. Next slide. The spotted lanternfly is still a thing. It's still a thing. And I'm sure, in the upcoming weeks, as these pretty, moth-like red spotted kind of insects come hopping around, we'll remember that they are still a thing. But know that the team continues and will continue to monitor them. Over the winter time, the left picture and the middle picture, over the winter time, we scouted and then scraped egg masses. That's what that kind of ridged on the left side. That's what that ridged kind of thing is. Very sneaky, these things, but we would find them and then we would kind of scrape them off, which is what Sandra's doing in the middle there. And then we would be able to destroy the egg masses in an effort to minimize the adults that will end up in the summertime. But on the unfortunately likely occasion that we did not get them all, we did just this week install the traps, which are those funny looking, I should have taken a picture, sorry. Those funny looking net with like a jug on top kind of things that we wrap around trees. There's a couple in Teardrop. They're scattered throughout. This is, I guess maybe the 3rd year that we've been really monitoring them. So we're a little heavier with the traps in areas like Teardrop where they seem to be a little more prevalent. So we've kind of strategically moved them. But if you see them, they do look a little funny, but they are there for a reason, and that is to capture the adult versions. So weekly or as needed, we will empty out those jugs. We will respectfully destroy the adult insects, again, in an effort to just kind of minimize that. We ask that anybody who comes across it, they can be a little tricky to catch. They are faster than you think, but if you can catch it, we ask that you respectfully squish them, because ultimately that is just helping our cause. And just a little tip, if you sneak in from behind, then you're probably more likely to get them. If you come at them from front, they're going to pop in all sorts of directions. It's an interesting thing. And next slide. I think that's really it. I didn't want to, dive into too many details, but open to questions.
Thank you so much, Ryan. This is lovely. So I see Marianne's hand went up. Let's go back to the pavers. So question 1 I have with the paver slides so you have 4 different types. Is there a reason why is it octagonal, hexagon, whatever the pavers that are there now? Because this is Battery Park City, and nobody likes change. Is there a reason why those are not permeable or cannot be found to be permeable in that shape?
Yeah. So the shape was a little less I mean, I understand the aesthetic matters always. And right now, part of the pilot, we were just like, if we were ever going to do anything crazy, right, the pilot would be the time. Our current hex pavers are not permeable, obviously. There is no
Yeah.
version of our, that was our first go-to, right? Wouldn't it be nice if everything remained the same? However, the third location, which is what's being worked on right now, which is the kind of squiggly line up in Rockefeller, right near Ulysses, the statue in the northwest corner. Nick, am I saying that right? Northwest corner.
I think it's northwest. Yeah.
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 I think what,
By Ulysses, which is at the point there of the North Esplanade. And
Point, okay.
yeah,
Yes, I know what you
exactly.
mean.
Yeah.
Like where it kind of goes in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, yeah. I think what you'll find though is that the ones that will be installed there actually are hexagonal ish. And
Okay,
so
that's positive.
yeah, exactly. And so the shape and the size of the others were really kind of like a
Yeah.
side thought as we were just trying to explore, because the way each paver is permeable is a little different, right? The
Sure.
locking system, the way you install them, so on and so forth. Although I'm a little excited about the one on the left, Justine, because that one we removed cobbles. That was a
Yeah.
cobble band. And I'm kind of excited about this. The cobbles obviously were bumpy, right? It made for a tough run at things when you were walking or stroller or anything else. And so this really allows that space to be accessible, which I think is kind of exciting and different. So I do kind of like, I'm just as you're, I kind of dig the ones on the left in lieu of the cobbles. But the ones in the middle was just us trying to trial a couple of different things. There are no plans right now to change the hex pavers.
So question 2, and then I'll go on to Marianne and then Jeff, is how long is the permeable pilot paver program gonna last? Because it does look a little odd in some places, especially by Albany Street. Less so, I have to say, I almost didn't notice the difference when I was walking by, but of course the dogs were annoying me. But when I was walking by South Cove, but I definitely noticed it at Albany Street
Sure.
because it's intermixed with the other things, and you can just see how and it looks odd that they're different.
Sure.
Now, obviously, it's a pilot program, but if we're doing like 3 years of a pilot program, that's crazy. And then I guess the next thing is going to be, do we really want to go crazy replacing everything until you start doing the resiliency project, because that's going to be a big thing.
Yeah, no. Again, the goal is not to replace anything right now. The goal is to just learn. And so I hear what you're saying about the Albany one. And I do think that, although there's not necessarily a time here, there's a little bit of time as we're hoping that we can get to see some of these summer storms when there's this deluge of water to see like, how does that permeability work? I also am really interested in seeing how this holds up with, my team with the carts kind of going through it, right? The dogs,
People,
the
yeah,
kids,
everything.
So although I don't want to necessarily put a time, I do want to say though that like by allowing it to go through the seasons, by allowing it to, kind of live a real Battery Park City life, it gives us a real insight as to what we do or don't like about each paver.
Sure, that makes sense. So I guess what I'm going to ask you is I'd love to get an update, I don't know, in 3 months, in 6 months, whatever it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a sense of how, what are you thinking? What have you learned? And even if it's something that Nick reports to us, it's fine if you don't have to come back. But if there's things you're learning, because I'm torn between don't spend the money doing something on a large scale when you're going to rip it all up again to do the resiliency versus is this ugly? But I'm torn, and I'm going to mind my business. I'm going to ask Marianne to talk.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marianne, and then Jeff, and then Brittany in the attendees.
Ryan, early on, and thanks for all this information. Early on, you mentioned bridges, taking care of bridges. Do you mean the one that goes over West Street?
Yeah,
Is it-
yeah, we oversee the Tribeca Bridge, which is up by Chambers,
Oh,
and
right.
then the West Thames Bridge, which is
Thames.
um,
Okay.
right on West Thames, right?
And what do you do there? Is it more a matter of cleaning and maintenance or?
Sure, we oversee it's a little bit of mix between Gwen and I, obviously. You know, the parks operations team is really in a maintenance kind of thing.
Okay.
Gwen builds it, we maintain it. But what we definitely do is we oversee any snow removal that might, you know, snow and ice. We kind of oversee that in the winter time. We do have some trash cans and landfill cans up there. So of course we, you know, we take care of that. We will do wash downs and we'll perform that. We do oversee the elevator maintenance for the West Thames, not for the Tribeca, but we will see that. So if something goes awry with one of the lifts on either side, the east and the west side, my team will intervene and kind of get a contractor out there and do that. And then, you know, I could continue, but I think you get the gist, right? Yeah.
And then another question on those compost bins for residents to get rid of sort of their kitchen and household compostables. Liberty Court's been having a lot of communications with David Wallace about getting one here for a while. Is that due to come soon?
Yeah, we have one on order, and so it does take a little bit of time, as these compost bins are ones that are often used by national parks.
Okay.
They're like bear proof. So I figured if
They are
bears can't get in it, then rats can't get in
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
it does
Very
take a little.
sturdy. I will say that about them.
Yes, they
So-
are sturdy. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have a Dave will reach out. Hopefully we'll have a better update, but it is in a forward motion.
good. Thank you for that. That's all for me.
Thanks so much, Marianne. And actually, you brought up something with the bridges. I missed that part of it. So a question, and maybe it is Gwen, not you, Ryan, but recently I've been walking across the bridge, and I noticed that I'm going to call it the floor on the steps and you know, it's not the right word, but it's the floor, and it's kind of peeling, and it looks like it's been wear and tear of the weather. Is that something that you guys fix? Is it somebody else who
No,
fixes that?
that's going to be us. We call it the span, Justine.
Okay.
It's the bridge span, which means that part. That'll be us. So we're currently ordering. There's a special epoxy and like a gritty kind of sand that gives it that kind of thing. Plus, the weather has to be right. It does need to be a little bit warmer in order for that to be effective and applied. But you can expect to see that happen in the upcoming months from the
Right.
parks operations team.
Which is cool. And any issues with structural integrity because of the whatever's happening, or is it just peeling because it's the top?
It's just peeling. It's just like the coating that gives it that pretty finished look. Zero issues structurally.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, Jeff.
Dean, I'm sorry, just to add, just to
Oh yeah.
piggyback on, not to cut Jeff off, and thank you, Ryan. It's one of those interesting things that you kind of learn about as you are deeper into government speak generally. Is Ryan's team does a great job maintaining the bridges on a day-to-day basis, including kind of the spanning she was talking about. And it kind of depends on what the issue was, where you would draw the line. But if it were larger, like, you know, significant structural capital investments in the bridge, that would be done by New York City DOT because they're the owner of the bridge. So they own it. We maintain it on a daily basis, you know, keeping it clean, clearing of snow, etc. Day-to-day maintenance things of the sort that Ryan has described. If it gets significantly more involved than that, then it would kind of defer to the folks who own the bridge, which is the city. And we work obviously in close partnership with them on it, just so the committee understands that.
No, that makes sense. I kind of remembered there was some, that's why I was asking the question. Who's
Yeah,
in
city
charge?
owns it, we maintain it.
Perfect. All right. So I see Jeff, I see Betty, and then I see Brittany. So let's go like that in order. And Brittany, sorry to bump you back behind Betty, but I promise you're number 3. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I have 3 things that I wanted to touch on. First, on the pavers, I have a comment and a question. I was out I have a new dog who's very young, and so I'm out 6 or 7 times a day. including that day that it really rained hard the other day. And as I was walking in that downpour, it was hard to find any place on the Esplanade that wasn't puddling significantly, but these new pavers seem to be working pretty well in both sections. So at least that one data point, they seem to be doing what they were supposed to be doing. My question is, what happens to the water that goes through them? Where does that water go?
Yeah, and so the foundation of all of these pavers are a little different, but much different from what our current pavers are. So underneath, there's a pretty decent, up to 18 inches, if not a little bit more, because each paver has different specifications, gravel, but different size gravel. So we have some small 3/4 inch, we got some bigger ones. And so we do that as the specs. So the goal is, right, the water to be able to permeate through. The gravel kind of slows it down a little bit, and then it just kind of disperses into the soil, which is ultimately underneath all of that too. And it's just kind of staying in the ground instead of ending up in our sewers or in the Hudson or any kind of runoff like that.
Okay, that's what I imagined, but I wanted to make sure. Second area was on the dog composting. I try to use it when I'm near one, but I've noticed that there are not infrequently non-compostable items in those bins. When that happens, am I wasting my time dumping dog poop in there? Is it all going to be thrown away, or what? What's the right thing to do?
Yeah, no. I don't think you're wasting your time. And we know we have more work to do as we try to get out there and educate people. But I would encourage everybody to continue to participate. Once we collect it, and we do that daily, we really do try to process it. So if there's any plastic bags with pickers, obviously, and safely, we try to get those out so that we can still compost what's left.
Okay, good. The final thing is, you were describing the new vegetation and so forth. And one of the things that strikes me, and I think lots of people, about the park here is the wide variety of what's there, including among the trees and the things that are planted seasonally. Is there any kind of directory or literature that's available? I mean, you'll see some wonderful looking tree down by South Cove, and you wonder, what is that tree? And as well as the effort that goes into the vegetation and so forth. Could there be some, maybe there's something already on the website, but I haven't seen any kind of directory or literature. It's almost like like going to a national park and you see something, it's kind of nice to have a plaque or something so you understand what you're looking at.
Fine, it's almost like we fed him that question. Talk about the Arbor Day signs.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
so
we
excited.
do
Go
try
ahead.
to do these things randomly, like the Arbor Day signs, where we kind of just name that tree and tell everybody what the benefits are, in terms of like carbon sequestering and what benefits it is. We do have some documents that kind of list like the heavy hitting plants within each area, right? And we can probably figure out the best way to share that. But I also want to say, I don't know if we're being recorded, and Dave, our director of horticulture, might, anyway, I want to say that we're undergoing a project where we're going to be able to use software to kind of track our trees and kind of plot them from a not just an identification standpoint, but from a maintenance standpoint, right? This tree is new, come check it out in 2 years, or we just pruned this, so on and so forth. And I do think that the plan is to use this not just for trees, but for areas within the garden. We're going to, add some biodiversity facts in there as well. So I think that that's a great question. And I think if you can give me a little bit of time, I think you will be able to, check out everything, maybe through your phone.
That would be so cool. Whether they're like with QR codes, you can just scan it, or just going on the website and finding it. That's lovely.
Yeah, I think it's a little like GPS it, you know, you kind
Yeah.
of I'm standing here and it just kind of pops, you know, the
That would be great.
technology world is crazy, but I'll get a little bit more info about what the capabilities are, but we're in the very beginning stages and you can imagine like uploading this information is like a real beast. But as we get through that, the goal is to not just use this information for our own maintenance purposes, but also to share this information with the community at large.
That's a great idea. And let's go to Betty and then to Brittany. Go ahead, Betty.
Yeah, no, why doesn't Brittany go first?
Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Brittany. Lucian, you have to unmute her. Thank you, Betty, because she has been waiting. Go ahead, Brittany, you're unmuted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thanks. I love this permeable paver pilot. I'm with Justine of maybe trying to find places that we know aren't going to change, you know, from being an economical standpoint. Maybe further inland a little bit more to do more pilots. On the point on the trees, you know, the city has a tree mapper. It's an interactive map and it tells you all about every single tree, the type, the carbon, how mature it is, lots of facts. So just integrating Battery Park City into something like into that tool, you know, probably seems like the most efficient way to do that. So maybe something to look at what's up there existing and just integrating and connecting into it.
Yep. We're aware of the tree plotter type thing that New York City has, and we do plan on, you know, kind of getting that information because it's already exists, right? So that we can share it. So the expectation is that our information is compatible with their information and so on and so forth. So we're not double working here. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah. My actual question was on your zero waste. Are you guys, I've seen like, you know, I know that you're starting to do, you know, carbon tracking and carbon accounting, and zero waste. Are you guys getting like third-party certifications on any of this?
We are. We currently at our 75 Battery Place office, where, you know, the parks operations, the parks programming and community operations team are largely housed. Our building for our kind of like office space is certified through True as a gold zero waste space. And so we did partner with True to get that certification. So we continue to partner with True as they have a really, in my opinion, great kind of outline goals that are obtainable. And so we work closely with them.
Awesome. That's great. It would be great to make all that available to the public, maybe somewhere on your website, maybe in your sustainability area. It'd be great.
Yeah.
All that data. Cool. Thanks.
Yep. And then Betty, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you so
mine is
much.
mine is more the curiosity. I have some questions. One, I'm real interested in what are the criteria being used for judging these pavers? Because I think that'll give me some insight as to what's out there in the paver world that is worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, and what a world it is, Betty, because I went deep, you know, last fall before we started this. It was a world in which I was not prepared for. But and so I think the obvious one is that it is permeable, right? So the puddles are not accumulating, they're not being stagnant, they're not staying there for very long or at all, really. So that to me is a really key factor. I will be very interested on what our masons have to say after all of these are done in terms of installing them and the foundation, the different types of gravel, and you know, how much cutting each paver, how long that took, you know, the reality of some of this stuff. And also to the criteria that went into like what we picked as well, a little bit of the aesthetics. And I know some of these seem a little off, but you might be surprised how really off some other ones are. But also just, again, that like for example, the one in the middle by Albany, the way that those lock together with those little kind of four ends is what makes them permeable, as opposed to the ones on the left, which look a little more like brick-like, right? But if you were to get really close, they kind of have like bumps on the edges of each. And the fact that they don't actually touch is what makes it permeable. And so it's these different types of things that are available. That's what really, and what's going to make it, I think, successful to me, the fact that it's permeable, the fact that the team feels like it's something that we can maintain, obviously, because we want to be able to maintain it to the standards that we're all expecting our parks to look like. And then, yes, of course, the aesthetics of it all, I think will play a huge role in all of it. Does that answer your question? I don't know if I went off topic.
Yes, I have two other points. One, I was going to say this one it's to my left that you'd pointed out before, so it may be the same one. That to me has kind of a parquet look to it, the way they're turned. And I was going to say, I'm one of the main complainers about the cobbles, because again, yes, with a scooter, it's a nightmare. But the visual texture and look is really important, so I can see why it would be used. And this is a good one for that kind of space, which is a narrow strip to me visually. So I was going to say, I think you may very well end up with multiple types, or at least more than one, because of the size of the area you're putting the pavers on, which reminds me of another kind of off situation. But I remember I was working in Hanoi at the time and making a lot of rain. But they had this park that forever needed to be done, and they finally did it. It was very exciting, and they put down all these pavers, and they were hexagons, and they were beautiful. And within 3 months, they were tipped over. It was just a nightmare looking scenario. So I hope that one of the criteria is looking at how well they not only are permeable, but actually stay in place.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if we get a winter, this upcoming winter, with actual snow, right? And typically the team goes out there with snow throwers and bobcats, and sometimes we even bring out the trucks with the plows. So all of these experiences, like, we are not treating these pavers any different than we treat our current pavers. And the hope is that they can hold up to the same way that that our current ones do. And so, yes, how they last, it's a bunch of gravel under there, so I'm hoping they're not like this after a year. So all of that is TBD. We will see, Betty, but I hear you. I'm with you.
Well, thank you.
Lucian, and thank you, Betty. Those were great questions and good points, everybody. Go ahead, Lucian.
Thank you, Justine. This is not to beat the paver thing to death. I think that's wonderful, and I think it's a huge step forward in sequestering all this storm water before it goes into the combined sewer. I was curious if there was a design goal, like, DEP's stormwater, the bioswales and other types of capital improvements that they have. The intent is to capture 60% of 1-inch precipitation events, something to that effect. I know that the amount of gravel and the size of the gravel certainly is important, because that's where the water is stored in those spaces. And is there a design specification of how much water you're looking to store? And like, is there like a 1-inch rain event kind of specification, or is it just whatever kind of wet the manufacturer is recommending?
Yeah, for now, we're kind of we're still in this, like, educating ourselves in this world. And so for now, we're kind of going with what the manufacturers are recommending. Also, too, we need to be really mindful, the closer you get to the Hudson, the less there is under there, right? So what are we really making permeable, right? Or we can't make certain cement layers permeable, because that's what's like keeping us kind of there, right? And so I'm not sure there's ever going to be a world in which we can all be permeable. But Nick, do you remember, we do have a specific goal in our sustainability plan? Again, of course, this is probably being recorded, and then everybody's going to realize I forgot. Nick, do you remember what our percentage is? At least if I forget, if Nick forgets.
I don't remember offhand, but it was in I think the first BPC Parks happenings that we did that talked about permeable pavers. Actually took a shot from the sustainability plan.
Yeah,
so
maybe
stand by 1 second.
28%. We want to be able to increase our permeability. And that's not just necessarily through pavers. Maybe we can identify spaces that can turn into gardens, right? Maybe we can identify, you know, these bioswales. So
Yeah, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it right now. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the
Sorry.
pavers are just one part of helping Battery Park City become more permeable. All this information that does not answer your question.
Well, no, but it's I think it's all together. I think it's fantastic, and in so many ways, Battery Park City is kind of, I always say it's like Bizarro New York City, and you all, and of course, you know, your management of open spaces is fantastic. You know, what you end up choosing and having experience in will certainly provide a lot of you know, show the way forward to the Department of Parks and Recreation and other similar agencies or in the region that have similar weather patterns, and you know, ultimately the impact is going to be very great. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. And before I close this all down, I guess what I would like to say is once you get the data that you're looking for, I would love to have the community weigh in as to what they prefer. You know, if it comes down to, yeah, I'd love to have the community weigh in. Do we like this? Do we not like it? And then there's reasons that you can come back to us and say, well, the reasons why these are good are this, and the reasons why these are good are this. And then of course you're going to have people who say, "But keep it the same," you know. So, which is, you know, I kind of go with the idea that you guys, at the end of the day, it's your decision. But I'd love to have the community have input as to the aesthetics of it all, when and where it's available.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to come back with the data, happy to share that. I mean, that's, you know, that's why we're doing it. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Ryan, thank you so much for everything.
Just
And
Justine, I have that number for you. Sorry.
oh, good. Yeah, what is it? Thank
I
you.
took the screenshot. So the 2030 target per our sustainability plan is to have 46% of Battery Park City's parks and public open spaces to be permeable by
Wow.
2030.
That's pretty cool.
But it
And so
wasn't a bad baseline because the baseline we were basing it off to 2019, I think, was in the 30s or so when you're counting all the green space and stuff. So we're, you know, we're making substantial progress, but we're not starting from no permeable spaces. Obviously, we have a good amount to the extent that we can extend that in places where it makes sense and reduce that stormwater runoff. Which, Jeff, thanks for that great example. I mean, it's anecdotal, but nonetheless, it's great to actually have someone validate that is helpful. So that's the goal. We want to try to be almost half of our public space permeable by 2030. And the first part of that is Ryan's kind of goal here with the permeable pavers, not the only part of the solution, but hopefully we hope a significant one.
excellent. No, thank you so much. That's great. Ryan, thank you. And
Thanks
thank you
for
for the
having
good
me.
work you do. All right. Next, Greg, thank you for being here. So Greg Shenlin has come forward and has an idea for a independent, like, ombudsman or some entity that kind of is a, well, I'm gonna let him explain it because it's better if you explain it than I do. I will mess it up. So Greg, welcome. Introduce yourself. If you're here as part of the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association, say so. If you're here as part of yourself, say so. And please, you've got the floor.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Justine. Hello, Nick. Thank you for giving me a moment, and hopefully you will consider this to be as brilliant as an idea as I think it is. But what I really think it is perhaps the beginning of a good thought that I hope will not just be good in theory, but somehow we can put it into practice. And I do realize there are some hurdles that we need to get through. As Justine said, my name is Greg Shenlin. I live in Battery Park City. I work as an attorney in Battery Park City. I am the vice president of the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association. And the idea I'm going to tell you about, I began to socialize it with some members of Community Board 1, but also with Senator Kavanaugh's office. I spoke with Charles Fall, Chris Marte. I have not spoken with the borough president's office, but I have communicated it over. I have a written document that describes it. From everyone, from the three that I spoke to, the elected officials I spoke to, they sounded positive in terms of it in concept, but like everybody, they want to see what does it mean when I guess the rubber hits the road. So it's the proposal in 2 words is a community advisor. And it's related to the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project. I think one of the challenges that we have in providing meaningful public participation is understanding all this information that's coming at us. And it's a lot, and it's unique, and it's a field that's constantly changing in terms of everybody, the scientific community, the political community, everybody's understanding of how all these various components interact. And very often, I feel like at these meetings, we're sitting there and we have the Battery Park City Authority, we have all these contractors that are speaking to us, and I'm not making any comments on their credibility or the sincerity. I assume it's all there. This is not meant as casting aspersions on everybody. But it's kind of like sitting in a college lecture class, and then you get a set amount of time in order to ask questions, in order to understand this subject that these people have spent hundreds of hours digesting and formulating and proposing solutions. And we have a narrow bit of time in order to process it and try to ask the right questions to get at the heart of issues that are important to us. And not everybody has the same concerns about the project, and that's what's nice about different groups and different people being involved. With this particular project, you have a host of experts. The Battery Park City Authority by themselves are not experts in how to develop, analyze, and construct a climate resiliency project. Now, they're very good, and I'm not casting aspersions on their intellectual ability or their ability to effectuate this, but clearly they hire many, many consultants with a myriad of different expertise in a lot of different areas that help them get up to speed, right? And it's sustainability, it's flood barrier technologies, there's adaptive design, which I don't hear a lot of people talking about. I'll go into that in a moment. Infrastructure, architecture, landscape design, construction management, finance, regulatory compliance, right? Social equity, carbon impact. And I think we would do better if we had a credentialed consultant that could speak with us, could help us understand. He's not there to advocate. Every community, and I think Community Board 1 should be the lead in terms of organizing the community consultant and providing information, should be at CB1 meetings. But every organization, whether it's the Homeowners Coalition, the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association, Battery Alliance, CB1, the committee, can develop their own opinions. I just want them to be informed. I want our questions to be more tailored, more particular, more informed, more better at getting to the heart of whatever it is the issues are that we want to learn more about. I'll give you perhaps a simple example, because sometimes knowing the right question to ask is not just education, but it's also experience, which a lot of these experts have. I've identified somebody that Justine, I've sent, and I can certainly upload it or send it to everybody, a proposal that I prepared. And at the bottom of it, I actually recommend a particular consultant for us to consider. He's worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. He's the head of a university in Maryland University's Department on Resiliency. He's on the American Society of Civil Engineers. He leads a lot of their committees. He's won awards. He's published, I think, 50 to 60 different articles. And he really understands this area from many, many dimensions. And one of the things that he brings is perspective in terms of all the other projects that have been done. And there's never been a project that's exactly like ours. And the interesting thing about climate resiliency projects is no 2 projects are ever alike. The geography is different. The impact from whatever the storm modeling is going to be different, right? And then it's always changing, because the frequency and the intensity and the type of storms are things that we're modeling and hoping, but we're constantly changing as we learn that they're different. They may be worse, they may be different, or maybe a different type. Anyway, brief example. In the Wagner project, there was some suggestion about an inland barrier with a wall, and there are trees that were going to be in close proximity to it. One of the reasons why the authority and the contractors initially said that's not feasible, is they said you, by federal regulations, you can't have a tree within 15 feet of the wall. And there is actually a regulation that says that. But what I didn't know is that there are certain projects in the country that apply for variances, because it depends on the type of tree, it depends on the particular geography, it depends on a lot of things like that. And it's a small example. I'm not even criticizing that we got that advice, because I don't know that the variance would have been granted. The purpose of this isn't to criticize, it's to inform and to understand that there's a much greater perspective than we can gather by just living in Battery Park City, showing up to a meeting and hoping we ask the right question. And with respect to the importance of it, and some of this I realize as I'm speaking, I'm sort of preaching to the choir about bad attendance. I realize we're here and we may already understand a lot of this stuff. The public participation is a required consideration for the authority when it's developing its project. It doesn't mean they have to accept the public's opinion, but they certainly do have to inform us and give us a reasonable opportunity to be meaningfully heard. And that meaningfully heard, to me, is lacking if we don't have the proper tools in order to digest the information that we're being given. I can tell you as a lawyer that when I go to court, there's always experts involved. Very often I'm dealing with medical issues, but I've dealt with a number of construction issues. And there's always an expert on one side that says A, B, and C. And there's always an expert on the other side that could say D, E, and F. And sometimes the court's head is spinning, and the court hires its own expert to try to help it digest the information. And I think it's just a rational, reasonable way to try to deal with the project that's really going to change a lot of aspects of this community. And if it's going to change it, great. It needs to be done. This is nothing of what I'm saying is doubting that climate change is real, that a resiliency project needs to be done. It is real. It does need to be done. It's about trying to get the best product possible in a way that you have as much community buy-in as you possibly can. I also think that if we have a community advisor, it also raises the expectation level of those that are producing the project in terms of what they expect the discourse to be, right? Better discourse, there'll be reduced discord, and ultimately we'll have a meaningful opportunity to influence the final product. And in the end, it becomes very, well, for a number of reasons, it becomes very important. Right now, they're discussing alignment as being one of the major issues within the 7 reaches of the Northwest project. Alignment is critically important because once the alignment is decided, that is going to inform what designs are available. Certain alignments will allow for flip-up barriers and roller gates and different things like that, right? If there's an inland alignment that's not feasible and they want to do it through the middle of the park, I'm talking about now probably for the northern reach of the park, there are a lot of considerations of a berm, right, or a levee, which is a type of a hill. That will affect the design. It will affect what people think. As everyone can understand it, there are a lot of implications, but we don't understand everything about the technologies, and the technologies are constantly changing. And there's different theories that go into it. And believe it or not, there's lots of formulas that I've been reading that these experts use that we don't even know about, that they're plugging in order to come up with various solutions. And I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. I'm just saying we have no way to double check or to ask questions about it in order to better understand. That was a lot said. I'm going to sort of stop there because I'm hoping at least the gist of what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. You clearly put a lot of thought and effort into this, Greg, so I really appreciate it. I think we all do. I'm gonna push this.
One more part of this, because I think
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's a critical part because it's sort of the elephant in the room. My initial proposal, and this may be pie in the sky me, not fully understanding all of the things that go into government procurement, was for the Battery Park City Authority to provide funding for this community advisor. Indirectly, we're really using our own tax money in order to provide us with an advisor, which I see some logic in it. It doesn't mean that there's a safe in the office that they can open up, and obviously there's a process. So I'm not trying to be flip about what it entails or light about the fact that we're spending public money. But I think it makes a lot of sense. The other thing is another benefit is that with this community advisor and with a more informed community, I think it puts the authority in a much better position if people are dissatisfied at the end of the project, because there'll always be somebody that maybe disagrees with certain aspects of it. It puts them in a much stronger legal position to say, hey, let me tell you about the public participation that perhaps people are complaining about, right? Whether they file a legal action, whether it's a protest, whether it's just at a meeting. I think it also allows for elected officials to be much more informed, because I think that was a problem with the South Project. Very often, I know from speaking with the elected officials, we knew some of the information that we were getting, but they didn't have the resource or the ability or the experience in order to articulate certain issues. And I think this will allow them to do that, not just to object to it. It will allow them to speak to the constituency, to explain to them why this is being done in a certain way, what the considerations were. And I think overall, a public that's informed is a public that's more likely to have buy-in and support. And even if you don't get your way, at least you feel like you have some closure in the fact that you had the ability to speak in a meaningful way and to be heard. That's all.
Thank you, Greg. Now, I think that is very, very important, and feeling that you've had the ability to be heard and to understand what's going on. And I really am happy to see that the neighborhood association and the folks that are engaged in this now are engaged at the beginning stages of the North and West Resiliency Project. I'm going to open this up to the questions from the committee. I see Sarah has raised her hand. And Jeff has raised his hand. I'm hoping we're going to have a robust discussion here, because I've got questions, but let's see. Go ahead, Sarah first, then Jeff.
Greg, it's an interesting concept, and you expect the BPCA to pay for this?
I expect them to consider the request and actually balance out, first of all, what they're allowed to do.
Do you have a price tag for the person you prefer?
My imagination, because I've never been in a climate resiliency project before where I've hired a community advisor. I will tell you this though, the person, I have the name which I can disclose and provide to everybody. The one that I'm recommending, obviously it could be whoever people agree on. I have no stake in this except to try to get the best person possible. Is a man named Bilal Ayoub. For anyone that's typing or wants to look it up, it's BILAL AYYUB. He told me he would charge $350 an hour. I think he's a really reasonable man. He's more interested in being involved in this because he thinks it's a very good idea from all the projects he's been involved in. He's involved with this both practically and on an academic level in terms of trying to develop processes that make sense in this sort of emerging area that's going to be more common in different communities. Really, Battery Park City is unique in terms of what it's doing. There's a lot of literal and figurative groundbreaking that's going on in terms of how they're running the project in all of Lower Manhattan. He'll work with us if from that point of view. What will it cost overall? I imagine it's a price tag. I put $100,000 in my proposal. I imagine it's between $50,000 and $100,000. But I was also, as I thought about it, I thought perhaps it should be done in tranches. Let's see how it's working. Let's make sure that there's, obviously good accounting practices that are going on, and let's see if it's as effective as we hope it is for whatever the metrics are we want, for whatever we think is a success. And I want the authority. If the authority is going to be a funder of this, I want them to feel very comfortable that it's meaningful, it's appropriate, and it's beneficial. This is not meant as setting up an adversarial system, right? I want this. The vision I have is for this person to be at the community board meetings, for the authority and their people to be speaking with them, and even maybe let them have a private phone call. I don't care. I want it to be on the table I think open, intelligent, informed discourse is wonderful. Right? This is not meant to be something where the community holds it close to the vest and there's some gotcha game going on. I think that's very, very important because I don't want it to feel, I don't mind that people have strong opinions that are different. I'm not trying to stop that. But I want the information to be free, open, and we can always understand the source that it's coming from and the logic underneath it. Hope I got your question answered, even though I think I went beyond it.
Thank you. I think Sarah's saying thank you as she's like falling out of her chair or disappeared into the roses. I'm not sure what happened there.
I was going to sense it.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
I think the proposal kind of highlights a related but somewhat different need, and that is, as a community board, we are kind of tasked with providing public input to all sorts of things, whether it's land use decisions, liquor licenses, and in this case, the resiliency projects. And Battery Park City really isn't unique in that regard. I mean, we are right now evaluating other related resiliency projects that are actually much more complicated than the Battery Park City Authority one. In particular, the FIDI Seaport Master Plan is a much bigger project. Mm-hmm. The Army Corps of Engineers project is a much bigger project. It would certainly benefit the community board if we had a budget, or the Borough President's Office in general had a budget for consultants that could assist us as we do our jobs in analyzing and responding to and being the public's voice for projects of this sort. And we may want to consider in our budgetary requests this year to include that. And I think we would probably find support in other community boards around the city that are facing similar evaluations of how the resiliency projects are affecting them. There's a handful of additional ones in Manhattan and certainly out in Brooklyn and Staten Island, where the decisions that may be made out there would have even a bigger effect on their day-to-day lives than the decisions that are being made here, other than the construction disruption. The concept of basically this is citizenship as a whole getting a paid expert by the government, I'm not sure there's much of a precedent for that. I've heard some people compare it to 250 Water, but that was a private developer seeking discretionary approvals from the government, and as part of that process agreed to for a very well constrained and well defined environmental consultant to kind of be the voice of the community with regard to those environmental things. But there are government hearings that require public input every day on all sorts of matters, whether they are wetlands processes, a whole slew of them. And generally speaking, we expect our government agencies to do their job. And if they don't do their job, they're accountable to the political process. And so it seems a little odd for the government to be designing, constructing resiliency projects, whether it's the Army Corps, Battery Park City, EDC, or whoever it is, to then pay for the professional advice of the public that comes to give comments. It seems a little odd. It would be wonderful if that were happening, but using taxpayer money to pay for two sets of experts rather than one, you wonder whether that's a good use of taxpayer money. But I do think the community board and the borough president's office could use additional expertise in this area. And I think, we have a governmental job to do that's very similar to the kind of public comments that Greg, you're speaking to. And although we have a fair amount of expertise among the board members, whether it's architectural or engineering or whatever, it's not our job, and we're not sitting there, double checking somebody's calculations and so forth. And it would certainly be helpful to have resources to assist us in doing that job, as we do from the Borough President's Office on land use issues and various other issues. But I don't think the Borough President has a contract with environmental engineers or modelers or whatever. I think it may be something that worth considering in our budgetary requests and in our discussions with the Borough President's Office. So that's my comments.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a good point, and it's interesting because, well, I'm keeping my comments to the end. Mary Ann, go ahead.
Jeff, you said that the public officials would be subject to the ballot box, but of course in Battery Park City, that does not apply.
Well, actually, the governor appoints them.
Yeah, but we're too small in New York State to, on our own, determine who the governor
That's
will
true
be.
with any public comment. I don't mean to interrupt, but you were
We
speaking.
could have, we know we need better local representation here. And we also know the experience the last 2 years has been pretty negative, with people getting upset about what's going on. So I think Greg's point that an ombudsman type person could help with that, help reassure people, or maybe raise a point that the authority would think is worth considering, and raise it in a more intelligent way than we could. I think that's the value. It might bring more peace into our lives compared to what's happened the last recent years.
Thanks, Mary Ann. I think a lot of the frustration that's happened in the past recent years has come from the fact that folks came to the table with a lot of questions that had been, they missed the earlier stages of the questions. And people who have been, I guess, at the end of the day, Greg, as someone who's been there the whole time, I feel like Wagner Park was, and this is just me saying, I think, I had the opportunity to ask my questions and get them answered. I can't say I understood all the answers, and I certainly was told no on many times, but I felt like I was part of the process. And I clearly will agree with what Mary Ann said, and I know you guys have said, is that you did not feel like you're part of the process. So number one, I am so glad you're stepping in and stepping up now to be part of the process and being heard. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because one other thing you raised was by doing something extra, it might kind of close the door on people coming in 3 years and saying, well, I don't know about this. It's like, well, at what point is too much communication or is there enough communication? And I don't know what that point is. Clearly for Wagner Park, there was not enough for many people. And clearly, being told no on certain things was not okay because everybody hates the new building and they don't want the old building torn down, or most people, but not everybody, because I see Betty laughing. I know, Betty, you're going to go next, but anyhow, it's interesting, and I'm not going to comment yet about money, but go ahead, Betty, you go.
I was going to say, I am quite opposed to the idea for a myriad of reasons. Some of the same ones that he brought up as support for him, I actually see as being against hiring a consultant. Who's consultant? It looks like they're trying to be an advocate for somebody and a bigger voice for particular members of the community, because they can't represent everybody any more than the people already hired by Battery Park City Authority already do. I, again, have had no problem getting questions answered. Maybe some of the logistics of which table you sit at, are you with like-minded people at the same level of knowledge, so you can engage more effectively with that group of experts at that particular table, would make it more productive use of time. I have also been very frustrated when I get someone who's never been to a meeting before, knows absolutely nothing, and they say, well, just tell me about the project. And, I really came to listen to this. I mean, that leads to frustration. That's where the frustration is. But I thought about it because, again, as a healthcare provider, to have somebody who has no trust in, as soon as they bring in an advisor, I don't mind a second opinion. But if they always bring in advisors for everything, you start to say, you know what, there's no trust. So why don't you go over there and do your own thing? Because obviously you don't want to hire me and have me do it because you don't trust me. So I think you're undermining trust by doing it. And I don't think you're going to calm people like Marianne thinks. I think you're going to make it worse. You're going to make more battling sides, because now I have my expert to bolster my side and point of view. But I thought about it, whenever there's a second opinion that steps in and is engaging, either they're adversarial, they're a watchdog person, or they're a community educator. If they're going to be a community educator, we can better use the people Battery Park City Authority has already hired and do it more effectively, because I find that they answer my questions and I've been okay with that. If it's a watchdog, then yes, you do need an expert, but are they going to be in all areas? And I'm not so sure that's going to be very effectively done either, other than asking the right questions and getting educated. And adversarial doesn't really help anybody. So I don't want to be somebody as a taxpayer funding that, which is only costing me on the other side as well. So I think of people like Bob Schneck, who's always asking, what can we do to stop this project or cut it down because I'm worried about my land costs? Well, we have to consider those residents of Battery Park City too, and how outraged they're going to be that their money is paying for both sides of the equation, and they still don't know any more than they did before. Because the reality is you're dealing with a lot of engineers, and most people don't have the capacity or the real interest to know the nitty gritty. Yeah, and that's not important. It's just like with healthcare. You go in, and I'm sure with law too, you go in with what your concerns are as a layman, and they are supposed to explain to you how they're addressing your concerns, not you trying to learn to do their job better than they do it. So I don't really see the fundamental value in it. And while I understand the basis, I would not support it. I think we need to find better ways to use the professionals we already have.
Thank you so much, Betty. Those are very good points. I see Tammy's hand is raised. And I guess before Tammy, I'd let you talk, but you'll be going in 1 second. I guess you raise a point that sort of sticks in my craw. And I'm sure Tammy's going to bring this up and do it a better job than I am in terms of explaining it. But as a homeowner in Battery Park City and part of the Homeowners Coalition, I have been trying to work with the Battery Park City Authority to reduce the ground rent, and anything that increases their expenses, whether it's capital expenses or whatever money that doesn't then get put towards the city in the excess funds that goes over, could in fact be a reason or a basis for them to say, we will not give you, we can't take less more. Then that is kind of a phrase we've been using with the Homeowners Coalition. We're not looking to make them take less, we're asking them to take less more or more, yeah, whatever, slower growth of what they're taking from us. And I just am concerned. Now, at $100,000 though, perhaps there's other ways to fund it. And Jeff, you brought up some ideas. And so I think if we could look at it that way, and then again, though, my fear is it's not going to be $100,000. Battery Park City Battery Park City Authority is spending billions of dollars on just the consultants, is what I think, or millions of dollars. Yeah, I could be wrong with that number, but I think they are. So I think 100,000 is a drop in the bucket. It'll cost them that much just to make a few phone calls, even at $3.50 an hour. But I don't know, and I'm not kiboshing anything. I'm just concerned about the cost. Tammy.
Thanks. Sorry, I was at a another meeting before I came. I think more than anything, this denotes and highlights for me one of the problems and opportunities that BPCA has here is that whenever resiliency discussions are had, this is not a discussion with, no offense, Nick Spordone or just Gwen Dawson, but it has the engineers in the room. We have the people who can answer the question in the space. So it is more dynamic. So for example, I understand the BPCA is supposed to be at the EPC meeting in June to go over and report back. I still have yet to see the list of questions that were raised at the REACH meetings, individual ones, and Nick, you'll tell me if they were online, and all the answers that came with them, right? Our meetings for the REACHes were February and March. It is reasonable, as we sit here May 3rd, to have said, for all the questions that were asked for those meetings, it should be that we could get the engineers. Hi, tell her I said hello. We could get the engineers and responses back. So when the meeting comes in June and you are presenting, the public has had the time to digest the answers that were asked in those meetings, and then either come back in that meeting to ask clarifying questions or have a dialogue to understand exactly what point for where. And that is for each meeting. I don't think that it's fair to run the entire dialogue for the 92 acres of the west side of the shoreline in one meeting. That denies true individual public engagement for the areas. And then it also, you know, gives us opportunities that we've asked for. So we asked Nick, while you're away, I am sorry, for the list of organizations per reach. So we could, as a community partner, say, hey, we notice you're missing, you're going to be over by, I'm just going to use an argument's sake, we know you're discussing the North Cove Marina. Wow, you know what? Here's a contact for Gateway Plaza, because we know that they weren't there, or they are not on your list. Let's on that. That's the partnership the community board has been working with for the east side, where they send us here are the stakeholders that we are in touch with, the organizations. I haven't seen that yet, right? So we want that to try and partner, so we know that you're getting at least some contact to all the right people. But no, I am not going to just tell every single person that I walk into, hey, by the way, there's a meeting next week. Are you going? Yeah, we do our general blast, but in terms of targeted outreach to help make sure that you're actually getting the stakeholders and constituents, we really want that. We really want the engineers in the room who will be able to explain it. And we want the answers to the questions that were raised, because right now, the timeline, the entire timeline is for the Northwest project is, COVID included, don't care because it happened, half of what Wagner was, Wagner and South Battery Park City, for a space that's arguably 3 times the size. And what the Battery Park City Authority told us was far more complicated and far more, would take longer, which was the selling point to starting with the South, that it was a critical pinch point in need and it would get us someplace faster, that it was so much more complicated with the engineering and everything involved going up the west side because the people lived there. So I'm frankly concerned about the speed. And as long as if we can use what we've learned, we shouldn't, and you have the engineers who can speak to people at the meetings, then maybe we don't need, we don't have the public clamoring to have an engineer to come and explain it, because the people who have already been hired, who are already paid by the Battery Park City Authority, come to the meetings. Whether or not engagement of the engineers to the public is included in your contract, I'm sorry if it's not. It should have been. You knew this was coming. We've had these discussions before. So we assume that it is. If it's not, that's something you can fix at hopefully less than $100,000 a year. And with that, I'm off my soapbox at the moment. And Greg, believe me, I wish the community board had money to do this kind of stuff, but I give out pens, that's kind of like the best we've got right now. We don't have that kind of, we have hired consultants in the past. We hired George Jane, who helped us with Governor's Island. Laura Dodge is not our payroll, but that's also funded by Howard Hughes Corporation. But either way, there was a interview process with everything and a financial review. So the problem that we see here is the community board doesn't see a way to have a community representative as a consultant online for what, Nick, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, however long this project takes. Which we did take a look. We just don't have the monies and the availability to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
If I
So
might,
before,
if I might, the only thing I'll say, and first of all, I hear you and I appreciate everybody's opinions and points of view. If you don't ask, you definitely don't get. And if nothing else, what I'm really trying to do is start the conversation on this particular issue to see how it gets socialized, to see where there may be traction, there may be merit, and also the criticism. Because whatever everybody said here, those that were in support, those that were against, somewhere in the middle, those are going to be common opinions that we're going to have to confront and we're going to have to explain. And look, so if I'm saying that I want open discourse and I want honest dialogue, that means, I want to get the criticism. I want to hear why it's not necessary, because I can either address those arguments or we can just have a difference of opinion. Maybe that's the way they stand. Whether the Battery Park City Authority sees that there's merit in this, I don't know. Maybe, I hope they do. While I do realize this may be 4 years, my thought on this is that you can start it as a pilot project. It could be a minor tranche. It doesn't have to be all in for 100,000 or whatever the amounts of money are that we're talking about. And if suddenly we see that there's value in this, there's productiveness in this, there's information that's helping us in a way that we didn't even anticipate, because nobody has done this. You're right, there are independent monitors on other projects, but they're different. And the purpose of this is not to be adversarial. It's not so much to be a watchdog. But if you do it in a very small way and you see that there's some great value, then you'll continue it. And if it's not going to be done through the authority because for whatever the reasons are, the government cannot do it, right? There are limits on budgets. There are just other types of limits. Even if we do it within a box and for a small set of time, if the authority and the community sees the value in it, maybe it helps raise the money privately. Maybe it helps the other elected officials raise the money through the state of New York in a way that's different than the authority. I don't know what the answer is. I don't have all those answers, but I certainly appreciate everybody giving me their opinions just so we can talk about it. We can think about it. I can hear you. And then from there, hopefully something good happens, because the only purpose of me being here and the only hope I have is for us to get the best project possible.
yeah, no, Greg, number one, thank you for all the work you did and thank you for presenting. And I see Marianne's hand is raised, and I'm going to come to you. I think that what's bothering me underneath it all is the underlying sentiment of distrust. Okay. And I've been in your shoes where I distrusted the authority, got this iteration, the other version of the authority on things. And it's a really unpleasant, uncomfortable place to be. And the authority worked hard to overcome that and gain my trust. I mean, again, do I agree with them on everything? No. Am I going to wring their necks about the ground rent? Yes. But there's many things that I do trust them on. And I guess at the end of the day, I don't know. I think we need to keep the conversations going and talking. And Nick, I'm hoping that you're listening to what Tammy said about ways in which the consultants you have already can be available to the public, because I think people like Greg and Brittany and people who have been following this now, they are very well versed, right? And then of course we've got Alice Blank and we've got Laura Starr, who are architects, and God knows how many other people that I'm not naming who are on our board, who have an understanding of this stuff on a level that is well beyond what my understanding is. And I think there are resources that we already have. Greg, you've pointed out that there's a way in which that public or private money could be used to do something. That's an option too. I assume that with anything with the government is going to have to get vetted with an RFP and everything else, even if it's 10 cents, you're going to have to go through that process. So
Lucian can tell you how long the process for the community board is. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just going to
so-
say, by the time Lucian and I looked at it, and Greg, unfortunately, by the time anything like that, due to the scope and scale, gets approved, I think we'll have bulldozers rolling down the street. So that was not encouraging on our side. And, there's something to kind of remember. We're looking at this as homeowners, as home renters, as, you know, our backyards, our front yards, and everything else. The BPCA has a vested interest in ensuring that the parks are beautiful and that the parks, they do an amazing job. I mean, I'm very grateful every time I walk through the parks in our neighborhood and every time I go someplace. They do a very good job of taking care of our parks. I will highly tell you, being the chair of CB1, there are many other parks that are not nearly as beautiful as ours.
Yep.
So they have a vested interest in that. And that cannot be overlooked, because I know that they are, that consideration is in everything they're doing. They're not just looking to stick up walls, because that's not going to help beautify and maintain. So there has to be a sense of fairness in the dialogue. We may not come to a consensus, of course. We may, but we do have to at least know that in the base root of the public benefit corporation, is it in their own benefit to ensure that these parks are beautiful. So keeping that in mind, I think also helps temper and tone down some of the conversation. That doesn't mean we don't argue with them. That doesn't mean we don't ask for the experts to come. That doesn't mean we don't ask for the information. That doesn't mean we don't do what we do. But also let's, you know, let's understand that we just need what we need. But we need to also come at a sense of understanding that they're not there to destroy.
Tammy, the only thing I would add to that, and there's always a limit where you stop, you know, wherever that limit happens to be. This is not meant to disparage the authority or to question their competence or the sincerity. Just the opposite. I agree with the comments that you made, but nobody holds a monopoly
It's done for a
on the
purpose.
knowledge in this area. And this is a very dynamic, fast-moving area in which they may not understand all of the solutions that are out there. They may not understand various things that have to do with adaptability. There are limits to what people have experienced and what they understand. And I'm looking to bring in somebody that really is a guru in the area. I mean, it doesn't have to be him, it could be anybody you like, who I think will better inform the process or agree with it.
No.
That was the thought behind it, was to improve discourse, improve product, not to criticize, not to play gotcha, nothing like that. It has to be high level understanding. He's not meant as an advocate. My proposal was not thought of as an advocate. It was thought of as bettering the partnership. I do appreciate
Yeah, no, I think we still come down to funding, but go ahead, Mary Ann.
So I want to talk again about what I'll call the bigger picture. You know, when the authority was created a little over 50 years ago, their job was to build this out. And that was their mission statement. And they did it. And as the buildings opened, we moved in. A lot of us were very young in those days. And, you know, we lived here, we worked out of here, we had families here. And gradually, as the building was finished, the focus of the authority was to the neighborhood and what was happening here among us all. And I think trust began to be ruptured back when the board would meet and would not allow anyone to say a thing to them. Now,
And
Dennis
Lehel
Neal
took over, yeah.
and George Sunis did a lot to change that. They were presidents of the board previously. Not Mario, his son, Cuomo, did a lot of damage with forcing monuments on us that people didn't want. And the, you know, most dramatic one was to have a live flame on a lawn where children play.
Yes.
So, and that's where George really stepped in and stopped that from happening. But at that point, there was really a lot of tension built up. And I really felt it as somebody who, you know, this month moved in 40 years ago this month.
Wow.
So I had hoped Governor Hochul would behave differently, but we know she got legislation this year. And while she did extend the lease, she poo-pooed being required to find people in this neighborhood who would have the character to do the right thing if we were on the board. And I just found that so insulting that she thought we would, we wouldn't do what's right in terms of caring for the money, caring for the neighborhood. When I moved in here, I knew I was going to pay extra, but it was supposed to be for affordable housing in New York City.
Yep.
And it just got
Yep.
worse and worse with all the extra payments that I and all the rest of us have paid over the 40 years and less that we've all been here. I don't see any freaking result from that. And that has gotten me into a state at the moment. So I'm calming back down. And I will say the only problem with using the engineers and the people that the authority has already hired is that, to my mind, when they're at the meetings, they have a vested interest. They want to make their money. So if a job that they think they're going to get 10 million for, there's a way to do it for 5 million, I don't think they will be as forthcoming with that fact if we press that. I do know with Wagner Park, there were people, they were late to the game, but there were experts who felt that it could be done with less drama. So I don't know what the right answer is on that, but I do feel that damage has been done. And there's nobody more loyal than I to living here, being here. But I'm not so happy these days about it. So I will end with that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I'll leave that for everybody else.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, Marianne, and that's a good sentiment. Nick, you've raised your hand. You've got the floor.
Sorry, I don't have to talk right now. I just wanted to make sure I had a chance to talk. Okay, the only thing I would say is, and thank you for the conversation. Marianne, you and I have had very good conversations as well, but I really have to say that I take offense to the suggestion that consultants we hire would build in additional costs simply so they get paid more. That is just, I think it's beyond the pale. I'm going to be frank. And the suggestion that we would be okay with consultants doing that is also not worthy of the relationship we've striven to build these past years. It's too much, and it's beyond the pale.
How about the greed is good philosophy that is just everywhere in our society? I
I
mean,
don't know what that means. That doesn't help me make any sense of what you said. That's no good. That's beyond the pale. I'm sorry.
what
I'm
movie
sorry.
is
You're
greed is good
calling
philosophy?
into question
Somebody
our
else can
integrity.
help.
You're calling into question the work we do as public servants. You're calling into question the work we do as
You
public
just
servants.
you muted yourself. Yeah, no, I don't want to devolve down that road because no, I don't think
Yeah.
that's where, I mean, you should speak for yourself, Marianne, but I don't think that's where she's going with it. I think that what you're hearing is the frustration of people about communication and sharing information. And I think that this is fixable. I think we're trying really hard to fix it. And I think that, Greg has pointed out a suggestion of a independent person to come. I personally don't know how independent a person would be if it's paid for by the authority. That's something else. That's kind of where it was, but I don't know. And because I'm not sure what their role is, but I also do think that you're hearing clear information that people don't understand what is going on. So I think we can maybe have more meetings sponsored. And again, not necessarily in my, environmental committee is specific to the details. However, I'm willing to do whatever I can, or you guys just host the meetings yourself where we do more reach specific meetings and there's more conversation. And more flow of information because I'm hearing clearly that people don't understand. And that's what I hear from Greg. That's what I hear from Marianne. And different suggestions to spitball to you. I think that what you did with the Gateway Plaza Tenants Association, I think that having meetings with them, and I'm assuming you had your engineers there, and then you're going to meet with the Gateway Plaza tenants as a whole with your engineers. It's not going to just be you, BJ, and Gwen. I think you're going to have a meeting and have answer questions.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
think
it's what
that,
kind of what we did with the work. I'm sorry to cut you off,
yeah,
Justine.
yeah, no, but it's like
So,
maybe doing it more specifically and do it block by block.
yeah, so the reach specific workshops that we did in February and March, and again, I'm not going to say that it was to universal acclaim, but I think it was fairly well received. And that was kind of the exact idea, which was, hey, let's have folks who attend sit side by side. I mean, I wrote the language that went in the ad that we blasted out across the entire world, right? Sit side by side, the architects and engineers working on the project. And we have, a dedicated portion of the contract says you have to have community
meetings.
engagement. You have to have meetings. It's in the solicitation. It's in the contract. It's something we take very seriously. And of course, it's going to be perfect. I mean, perfect is in the eye of whoever you're asked, but we take it very seriously, and we want to make sure that we continue to improve on that. So yeah, the idea is let's sit side by side the folks who are making these design having these design considerations and ultimately have to make these decisions that they recommend to us because it's what achieves the objective of protecting neighborhood and keeping the design standard that we all know and love.
Let's do more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to tell you now. Let's do more. Let's make sure that there are times, and we can be a little creative because you've heard from Brittany saying that, evening time, and I'm not sure what time is better for her, although I guess after 8 o'clock might be better. But there are a lot of meetings, or do it during the day. Even if we split it up and you have specific things where it's going to work and you set it up for per neighborhood, per block. Like I said, you'll get 3 or 4 buildings per block because this is really specific stuff to some of these people.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think we need to do that. And then, as Tammy said, to send out and distribute the information that you've compiled already. Like I know you said you put it together rudimentarily, but that should be out there so we know what happened. And if we can go forward in a way that the next set of meetings can be at least recorded. So it's going to be more of a group because you can't have a recording of each table, right?
Yeah, I think the workshops were a little bit of a challenge there because you had 8 different tables at each meeting, and to have 4 meetings, 8 tables, 32 or 36 different recordings, I think might be. But yes, the idea is, but that was kind of driven in part by the format. Generally speaking, we record them all, but yes, I mean, we're continuing to refine how best to get as many folks involved in it as meaningful as way as we can, and we want to continue that. I do owe Lucian a call. To Tammy's note is, we actually want to sit and kind of go like, hey, section by section of the project, who's the guy in this building who happens to know everyone who can help get the word out? I think that's certainly welcome. There's no rock we're looking to keep unturned in terms of letting folks know that this is happening and let us know what you think. And here's why it's necessary. And if there are suggestions you have about how we can do it different or better, we want to hear it. We can't necessarily do it, but we want to hear it and be able to consider it fairly and in an unprejudiced way.
And I think that will go a long way. And again, I'm not going to speak for Greg, but I hear his statement basically saying, I need more. I don't understand. And maybe there's a little bit of trust lost here in between. And I'm not going to put those words in your mouth, Greg, but it takes work, right? And that's what we need here. Marianne, your hand is raised.
Just very quickly, regarding all the reach meetings that were held and all the data and people's opinions, has that been summarized and
That's what
published? in
Tammy's
any
asking
way?
for, and that's what we're looking for. So we need to have that published and
Okay,
summarized.
yes, yeah.
Everyone, thank you for the time. I have to go get an 8 and 10-year-old, pick them up.
Oh my gosh. Well, Greg, thank you for your presentation and thank you for these thoughts. It's let's keep talking and it's not a done deal.
And
I
just
think
to clarify one thing you said, look, nobody's independent completely once you get paid money, right? If they get paid by the authority, isn't that even better? Then they will not. But the point I was trying to make was that it would be neutral, meaning there's no financial interest in the chosen plan.
okay.
But
And
with
it-
that
and
said, I don't know that really changes moves the needle on everything else that needs to be decided if this were to be implemented. But I thought it was good to start a discussion, and I really like the feedback that I got, and I assume that the authority will approve this by tomorrow morning. Right, Nick? You promised?
I'll take it under advisement, Greg.
All right, that's good enough. That's more than I even hoped for. So,
That's it. Now, Greg, thank you. Let's keep talking,
all right,
please.
thank you, everybody. I appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you. Bye, Greg. All right, I think we maybe are now up to Patrick if he's here. I don't see
Pat
him.
is
Or is he
actually, I'm sorry, Justine, I
on
meant to
vacation?
send you to you. He is on a well-deserved vacation for a couple of days.
That's all right. Let's go to you and your report. I think that's what, I mean, if I'm not wrong, Lucian, I think that's what's next. Yeah, so wow, this is
Right.
exciting. This is
Okay.
exciting. Let's go. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and do this in a way that is actually, for once, instead of having it up on my screen and then having to tell Lucian, I'm going to follow Lucian's screen, so this way I'm not jumping ahead. And thank you, everyone. Good evening. First thing you'll see there at the top of the report is our Illumination Spring Showcase that we have going on at Belvedere Plaza. It's an interactive free outdoor light festival. It's wonderful so far. It runs from May 2nd, which was last night, through the 6th, Saturday night, and it kicks off our wonderful season of summer programming. So that was just a nice little way to start that. And scrolling down, Lucian, I will
Yeah, this
move
remark
down.
is giving me poltergeist vibes.
No, it's okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
you
know
like
it
that? That's kind
does,
of funny,
right?
right?
It does. A little scary.
I had to decide which picture to use. Um, okay, next item, that's the COVID information. Scrolling down, which, as you know, we have the update there from the governor and all the links. Again, it's still with us, unfortunately, including new strains. So let's make sure that we're keeping on top of that. We have our summer 2023 calendar, which we teased last month and now have out. And what I have for you all is a lineup of kind of a rapid fire lineup of events we have coming up over the next month or so until I'm back before you again in June. So Illumination Spring Showcase, we covered, is there. We have May, as you may or may not be aware, is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we have contemporary Asian American ballads there. That's their Lucian at the top of page 3. That's coming up on May 4th in Rector Park East. I Love My Park Day is coming up on Saturday. There's, many of you know or may know, we have the iNaturalist app, which allows folks to make nature-based observations on their own and submit their observations about wildlife to continue to kind of gather data and document biodiversity in Battery Park City and other areas as well. We have Infernal Affairs, which is one of the flicks that we have coming up, movie screenings with popcorn served afterwards. And Mother's Day, this is an important one, I know, for, obviously the mothers who do so much. I am consistently amazed at everything they take on and how well they do. It's certainly more than I can ever aspire to. But we have that on Sunday, May 14th, obviously, is Mother's Day. Mahogany Brown is an accomplished poet and writer who will be reading from a couple of her books at the Justice Reflected installation, which is at which is at Esplanade Plaza by the volleyball court. There'll be readings there and some music and another activity, and will be really a nice opportunity for mothers and families who are around that Sunday to enjoy. Go Fish, which is our seasonal catch and release favorite. That's coming up on May 20th. And I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, and I apologize. Mishpaka Festival on the 21st at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. And that's focused on Ashkenazi heritage, genealogy, and immigration history with the Museum of Jewish Heritage and our partners there. And Strings on Hudson is coming up at the end of the month. Again, in celebration and in recognition of Asian American Pacific Islander Month. Parks happenings, we covered a lot of that with Ryan, and I thank her again for the presentation, and Justine for indulging us and letting us come to the committee this evening. I hope that brought some clarity to a lot of the folks. At the top of page 5 there, Jeff, I kind of busted out, but we have actually some signs on the trees in Battery Park City. You'll see there a sawtooth oak and there's a ginkgo, and I can get you the locations of where they are, but we actually have some look, and look, that's tied to the trees, of course, not nailed in, tied to the trees in kind of a label-like format to kind of be cute and engaging. But that tells you a little bit about what the trees are at different locations in Battery Park City, and then how they help contribute to the wide variety of species we have here. Of interest to kids and families, our water features will begin to be or continue to be turned on over the course of the month, including at the parks and the playgrounds, as well as at Teardrop Park's ice wall and at the water fountains in South Teardrop Park. That's important as well. We talked about spotted lanternfly and the permeable pavers. I just want to make sure folks were doing that. And of interest there, the Murray Street Triangle is going to be a little bit of a redesign of the lawn there. So you'll see that sprouting very nicely over the course of the month. That's the picture there, Lucian, at the bottom of the page. You'll see some of our horticulturalists very dutifully kind of scoping out that lawn and redesigning it for kind of optimal growth. So thank you for that. Parks lawns, I will remind everyone, as I always do each month, that's at the top of page 6, Lucian, that leashed pets, of course, are permitted on hard surfaces only, not on lawns. We always make it a point to say that. But I also wanted to note that in mid-April, it was after I was last before you all, but as is customary, we opened up the balance of our lawns for the spring and summer season. So we had left a number open over the course of the winter, but some that were in a special need of healing and growth are now opened up for the season as well. And that includes Rocky Park South Lawn, Rector Park East, the lawns adjacent to the Aristotle Memorial, and Murray Street Triangle, which I just mentioned. Okay, resiliency projects, we covered this obviously to some extent tonight, but we had the Northwest public reach-specific workshops. I will be getting out some more information on our blog, and then Lucian, if you'd be kind enough, I suppose, if you can share that in your newsletter as well. Starting in June, we're going to be doing some geotechnical borings over the course of the site. Now, that sounds kind of menacing, but it's really not. It's just we have to do some borings across the width and breadth of the project site, or the to-be project site, to do subsurface analyses of soil and conditions. There's obviously drawings and plans, but you need to actually do some drilling in certain spots to make sure you're doing the appropriate analyses as the design continues to proceed. Once I have the locations and the schedule, I will put that out, and then to the extent that we can share that widely and publicly would be helpful. One of the things we're going to aim to do is we have the vehicles doing work during the days, obviously, and only during normal construction hours. We would like to have those vehicles off-site, or at least out of the way, overnights, and when work is not going on, so as not to take in more space than they would otherwise need to. So certainly something that we want to make sure is getting done expeditiously and effectively, but also not in a way that it's going to impact folks when the equipment and heavy machinery is not in use. So more to come on that, and we'll blast that out wide. And then the other thing I would note, obviously, as we know, we discussed it a little bit, we have, in addition to the public meetings and outreach, we have dedicated email addresses for both ongoing resiliency projects. The South Battery Park City Resiliency Project, which is has construction underway, with a community construction liaison, Rick Fogarty, whose name and number is listed there. And then the Northwest Project as well, and WBPCR info at BPCA. And again, these are email boxes that are regularly monitored and responded to. And we take that seriously. We don't want to let emails that go to those addresses lie fallow. We may not be able to get back to you the same day, but certainly if there are questions that folks have over the course of these projects, and kind of drawing a straight line from the conversation we just had, send those questions in. And the commitment is we want to get you an answer to the question to the extent that we have it in a reasonable amount of time. And if there's something that we missed, certainly let me know about it, because we want to make sure these questions are getting answered to the best of our ability, and in language and in tone that is understandable to the layperson, because as was noted, we're not all engineers, scientists, architects, etc. So moving down, Just through some highlights, we had a great lineup of events for Earth Week, including ladybugs and honey and free snacks and tours. So thank you to all who participated there. And we did an Earth Week update as well, which included kind of status reports on a lot of our ongoing sustainability initiatives, including, I think we mentioned it before, but zero waste figures prominently and regularly in a lot of those updates, including what we're trying to do in the parks and at our 75 Battery Place facility and achieving that certification. So we're continuing to look to achieve zero waste and kind of continue to move the ball on sustainability. I will run through the rest of this fairly quickly. Lucian, I'm at the top of page 8. We talked about composting, and we have our community reminder there about the weekly resurfacing schedule. That's with our partners at DOT. Our board meeting schedule and our first precinct community council meeting, which is, unless otherwise noted, usually the last Thursday of every month, with the last one being, excuse me, that's Thursday, May 25th. The last thing I would add for now, Justine, is a couple of upcoming events and permits. I went a little deep on this chart this month because I wanted to make sure we had all the updates, but Lucian, that's at the middle of page 9. 3 upcoming events for the benefit of the community. The TD5 Borough Bike Tour is coming up this weekend. Just so we know, and I linked it there for the benefit of the community. The only thing that's happening in Battery Park City is the actual pickup of the bikes. The entire route is beyond and outside Battery Park City. I think the start point is up by maybe City Hall Park or slightly above it, but folks are going to be picking one wave of racers or participants is going to be picking up their bicycles on the Greenway between First Place and West Thames early. I believe it's Sunday morning. Should have minimal impact to the community. The American Heart Association run, which I believe was going either to Betty's committee or executive committee last month to kind of review their path throughout the neighborhood. It's not just in Battery Park City, but a portion of it is. The route remains largely the same. They're going to be coming across from Battery Place and then Third Place above where the South Battery Park City Resiliency Construction is, and then up the Esplanade, and then ending at and around Esplanade and Belvedere plazas. That's on Thursday night, the 18th. So a couple of weeks out. It's an evening event. There will be some associated closures throughout the district. In Battery Park City, there'll be some vehicular closures you'll see noted there. Murray Street, Battery Place, and Third Place, but on a rolling basis, and I think only over the course of the latter end of the event, and then they'll reopen as the event concludes. And then the last item is a very small one, NYPD Run Club, the Run Club 5K on the 21st. That's for a half hour. And there's a couple of brief vehicular closures at Liberty Street and South End Avenue. And that is the extent of it. I have Pat's numbers there at the bottom. I'm not going to do as good a job as Pat. But if you go down to the bottom there below that chart, Lucian, I'm sorry and thank you. We have the 2022, 2023 April numbers. And I think most of them are down. There was an uptick in homeless reports. Lost and found properties along the same lines, a significant reduction in the number of complaints about parks rules, which I suppose is encouraging, and dogs. Nonetheless, dogs I know remain an issue. I would expect, although I wouldn't hope, would expect that number may tick up as more people are now out and more of the lawns are open. But as always is the case, please let's make sure we're trying to keep our furry friends off the lawns on hard surfaces only. And if there are instances where this is happening, Ally can be there to assist. And while it's never the goal to issue summonses if and as needed to folks who are not respecting the rules. If there are additional questions, Justine, I apologize on the Allied stuff, send them our way and we can get them answered. I don't know that I can answer offhand tonight, but the numbers are looking fairly favorable year over year, at least as I said here this evening.
So, I appreciate it, Nick. Thank you. Thank you for going through that.
Yeah.
Brittany has raised her hand and I totally didn't see it, so I'm gonna give her the opportunity to speak, but so unmute her, Lucian, but I'm gonna, I just want to ask you a question about those numbers. So when you say, oh, and Tammy has her hand raised too.
Okay.
So Tammy, is it okay if Brittany goes first? Because I think she's talking about the last issue.
Of course, I always
Okay,
do public.
go last, that's fine. Okay, so Brittany, hold up, because I want to ask a question, but stay unmuted. So with the park rules and the violations, is there a definition as to what park rules are? I mean, is it just what's on the sign? I mean, some people have asked me, and I didn't know
Yep.
the answer to this. Do park rules include smoking in the park? Do park rules include smoking cigarettes or pot or whatever in the park? And do you know?
I believe they do. I will confirm. I
Yeah.
have to check back on when we went through this exercise some time ago, but I believe it's a violation of a park rule, which should encompass any number of those things.
Okay.
Now, there are specific things I think that are of a particular interest, like dogs. A dog on a lawn would
And
also
that's
be a
why you
violation of the
broke
park
that out.
rule. But dogs, we know, is a hot button topic, so we can break that out.
Yeah. No,
I
thank you
assume
so
that's the case, but if I'm mistaken, I will correct it.
No, thank you so much. That was one question I was asked, and I thought I would ask it. Okay, Brittany,
Yep.
go ahead. Thank you for being so patient. I'm sorry I missed you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I wanted to make a couple comments on the last topic. I think first and foremost, just for the record, I personally fully support Greg's proposal. I think it's an excellent proposal. And I've spoken to a number of people about it in the neighborhood who also do support it. Number two, on public participation, the meeting times is not, because it's inconvenient for me personally. I just want to be clear.
But
It's because
parents, yeah,
for
parents.
parents. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I just want to make sure that that's clear is, that I think we'll have more participation if we can offer more diversity in terms of times. Different people might show up at different times, right?
Brittany, no, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry if I
No, that's
kind of
okay.
do
No, no,
shorthand in my head. So yes, I
no,
think
no,
of
no.
you as the
Yeah,
spokesperson, but yes, you are
yeah,
correct. I did not mean
yeah,
this is all about you.
yeah.
You
No,
are
no, no.
speaking for parents. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And in the future meetings that we have, being thoughtful about when public schools are out is really, really important because people won't be around. And I think publishing when those meetings are well in advance is really important. Advertising them around through physical signage.
Yeah.
The project needs to have physical signage up right now, quite honestly, at this stage. And I think you're not going to have as many surprises later on if people run into a sign, especially as people are out in the summer. I think it's really, really important to have physical signage around, and there's some low hanging fruit that can be, doesn't have to be expensive, that can be advertised, but along with the meeting schedule coming up, probably it would be good to go through the fall, right? Just like you do the summer programming, the meetings should all be put into those programs as well. On that note, Justine, for me, the best meeting I had on the Northwest project was in your committee, that November, December, whatever it was, meeting where you brought the experts on there and went question by question, reach by reach. I honestly think there should be one of the experts on every single one of either this meeting or the environmental committee meeting every single month, personally, to answer questions. And maybe it goes at the end. And so, if it runs late, it runs late. I think that would be a really, it's predictable and a really good way to do it. Next
That's a
on
good
the
point.
funding, next on the funding, I know that $100,000 seems like a lot as
Very
a
nice.
person, but when you're talking about government budgets and you're thinking about the fact that this project is, with the South and the North, probably going to cost $1 billion in the scheme of things, $100,000 is really not that much. I agree with Marianne. We have a governance issue. We don't really have an elected authority. And I mean board of the authority. Those bills didn't pass. There was lobbyists hired. The lobbyist was paid late October, and Hochul vetoed it within a few weeks after, according to government public records. to lobby against that specific bill. So there's a reason also probably why it didn't pass. And I think, it's not necessarily because, having a consultant, like sometimes they can hold other consultants accountable. I know Betty talked about the medical side. My husband's a physician. I will say, I've had the situation that the best person in the room that's advocating is a physician, because even from a doctor, they prefer to talk to another doctor because they're able to tell them, oh, you had this test and here's the result. And here's, they're able to speak the same language. So it actually, in some cases with expert to expert, it actually helps, and helps the experts too, to be able to translate to the public. And I think while $100,000 might sound like a lot, I actually think it sounds like a little in the scheme of things. You might end up with a project that instead of costing $600 million might cost $500 million, right? And so you might end up having a net gain, because instead of doing it, plan A, don't demolishing the duck pond, you build a wall further east and you don't demolish, and that costs, $20-30 million less. So, and you wouldn't have known that that was an option unless you spoke to another expert. So I think that we have to kind of think about it in those terms as well, at least consider it, in those terms, that there could actually end up being savings there. In talking to the experts, and, especially like some of the landscape designers, the way that they've described is even within, they all have their own expertise, and there's healthy dialogue and friction that happens, that engineers want to do it one way and landscape people want to do it another way, even within the experts too. And I think, and they're holding each other accountable. That's what I understand talking to different experts. And that's really, really important. And so you add, it's almost like a public advocate, right? You have public advocates in the mix and helping to add on to that. And just really quickly on to Tammy's point about the parks being beautiful. The parks in Battery Park are world class. They really are. And I think that that's, they're National Register eligible, like multiple of them. And I think that that's where, we have to be, people are so thoughtful about it, because people love these parks, and there's a reason, is because they are masterpieces. And around the Cuomo time, he got rid of design experts within the authority. The authority actually had design experts sitting in its ranks on its staff. And I know this talking to, a number of designers, and the alternate design team. And, it's, that helped create Battery Park the way it is, right? And I think, Nick, maybe for you too, is even within the authority thinking through, like, do you have scientists? Do you have engineers? Do you have a design, people with that expertise that you can take the consultant's information to and digest it and and help make decisions as well, right? I don't know if you guys have those type of expertise, in-house. And maybe something to think about as you're embarking on these projects is, bring it in-house or outsource it all, right? And how are you analyzing the information? And maybe this public advocate could even help with you guys, as well, of ensuring that all stones are not left, are looked under, in terms of alternatives, right? That's really the goal, is the more diverse thought, the better outcome that you're going to have. So thank you. Thanks, Justine, for letting Greg do his proposal. I know he worked really hard on that
He
proposal.
did a great
and put a
job.
lot of thought into it. And I just think it could be a win-win, scenario there.
Thank you so much, Brittany. And again, I really apologize for not calling you
No,
sooner.
you're good. That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. And Tammy, go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Sorry. Doing dinner as well as online, which is why my camera is not on at the moment. So I apologize, but my kids have requested not to be on camera this evening. Okay. I wanted to ask Nick on the scaling up I would have asked Patrick if he was here, on the scaling up of his crew for the season.
What you're
knowing-
going to ask? I'm sorry. Yes, go
And-
ahead.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Thank you, Tammy.
Not a problem, because I believe the scale up, I just don't remember based on prior meetings when that was, whether it was post Memorial Day to October, and when actually is the scale up? So I don't have to try and go back through meetings to find it. And what can we do to safeguard the lovely renovated pedestrian plaza at the top of the ball fields?
So I owe you an answer on the schedule and when the increases for the season. I do know that when we had the conversation, I think it was at full board. Was it just last week? Maybe it was the week before. Anyway,
I think it was
Andrew
That's
and Andrew had brought it up. Andrew Zelter.
Yep, exactly. He
And
asked
then I
it
was
at
like
full board.
furiously texting. I was like, let me text Tammy. Let me text Justine. I texted Andrew.
Yep.
So I spoke with all three of you. I had Pat follow up, I think directly with Andrew at the time to make sure that irrespective of what the current staffing level is and whether it's kind of lower in the winter versus summer and what the point is at which it kind of increases. Nonetheless, we have folks dedicated to the ball field or at least the ball field area. They will sometimes be kind of roving or walking around and patrolling, but we wanted to make sure that certainly while those fields are now having increased use for the Little League season, that there is a presence there that is easily contacted. So I will follow up to make sure he followed up with Andrew. Pat did, but he said he was gonna contact Andrew directly, and I texted Andrew directly as well. But I owe you an answer on when it gets boosted for the season.
Yes, no, thank you so much.
thank
'Cause,
you
yeah,
for that.
even in that meeting, Andrew, I walked over to him and said, remind me to, of course I forgot, remind me
Yeah.
to text Nick. And he's like, no, Nick already just reached out. So,
Right.
all right. So
It
to
would
your
be-
knowledge, nothing's been done yet, or you don't know?
In terms of
More people, or at least having someone go by and regularly
oh
monitor.
no, I mean I haven't heard anything from Andrew since this was a week or more ago. So
Yeah.
I'll confirm. I would assume no news is good news, but I don't want to entirely assume. I can
Let's
confirm
check.
with Andrew to make sure, but I haven't heard anything more in terms of issues there.
Okay.
Nonetheless, I can
Thank
follow
you.
up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tammy. I'm sorry.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, it's about a follow-up, Nick. It's about so we know and we can tell the public so they can anticipate where there will be, because as the increase is needed, of course, at the ball fields, it's also for walking through the new space when it's done on Pataki Way. It's
Yep.
a greater presence in the parks in general. You know, I love dogs, you know that, dog owner, but
know it.
having dogs playing fetch in the middle of the Rockefeller lawn with toddlers when one stops to pee on the tree is not our ideal. And I don't need citizens yelling at people, get your dog off the lawn. And, that's not what we want. We have a full parks team who's supposed to be able to take care of and deal with those things, and that would be ideal. But I do know that it probably needs to be staffed up because there's not as present or many people around.
Okay. Fair enough
Yeah.
and well taken,
Thank you.
Tammy. I will make sure that we get this clip of this meeting over to the team as well.
That would
But
be
yes,
great, Nick.
well
because
taken.
because yeah, it's been. I appreciate the not wanting to have people complain or talk to people, because I will tell you that in West, you look out your window when you're in your office, but you could see on West Thames Park, you could see in the basketball courts, they're just dogs there pretty much all the time. If the kids are playing tennis, no, or playing basketball, but when it's empty, they're dogs.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just sounded.
Yes, dogs are an intractable.
It's
Hopefully not forever intractable, but it's a challenge.
um
And here's we're doing dog waste compost and all this stuff. You think the dogs would be appreciative?
we are appreciative because the dog waste compost might be the way that we lead in New York City. So
Yeah.
we're actually really thrilled with that concept.
It's really exciting. It's really exciting. And again, Ryan was here earlier, but she is really a real pro. And
Yep.
she came to the group saying, I have this kind of what sounds like maybe a crazy idea. And I think it's a testament to the leadership of the authority that we said, you know what, it serves sustainability. I think it helps with something that can help eliminate waste and the methane that's being released in the atmosphere. We went ahead and it's been a real success. And I think it's leading certainly the nation and certainly the city and the nation. So far, so good. And we appreciate the support.
My pleasure. The only other thing that I'm going to say to be on official record, Community Board 1 opposed the bike stand in its current location and its deleterious effect on South End Avenue in terms of it blocks a loading zone for the small businesses. As you know, we're losing small businesses. I've seen already more trucks parking in the median between Albany and Rector. So it's enhancing traffic issues that we have in the neighborhood. Since we have had zero traction and change on any of the South End Avenue improvements that we had talked about for years and years and years due to even one end to the other, we understand that that project was sidelined for resiliency, but the community board offered many other options for a discussion and to come into the public for DOT for where that site should be for the city bike dock they wanted to land. Where it landed is completely uncool. And I'm putting it out there. We've heard from many of the constituents already dismayed. And you should know that it was not done with blessing by the community board.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a bad location. Because forget the trucks that are in the median, they're also just blocking the traffic. So you've got double duty. They're double parking in front of the bikes, so you can't get the bikes out and then you also have trucks in the median. So it's like this obstacle course you're going through. That's what I saw today when I was walking.
Is this a conversation that we should follow? I mean, I don't know if it's me. I talk
We
to
do
the
need
Evolution, follow up with DOT.
We
I
need the
think
Battery
maybe.
Park City Authority to lead on this dialogue because I'm under some mistaken impression that there was approval potentially of the concepts by the authority. So we appreciate the partnership of the authority supporting the community board for an alternative location.
It's interesting. Yeah, we should connect offline because I was under the impression that you guys didn't have a huge problem with it. Not that you liked any of them, but that of what was presented. Like one of the things, if I recall correctly, I have to go back and check my notes, so forgive me if I speak out of turn. I believe one of the things that was proffered was a spot at the end of Albany, right near the Esplanade, which itself goes against what we had discussed for years and years on the bicycle working group.
That was not
which
offered by us. That was
not.
DOT.
That was
Right,
DOT.
but what I'm saying is that so
Yeah, no, that would be a bad place. That's agreed. That would be a bad place.
I don't know how many options there are.
Nick, the front of Brookfield has a driveway that is no longer relevant because they no longer have a public entrance on that side. It has been privatized. They changed their public space, as you well know, with approval by the Battery Park City Authority to turn the public open space within that building to retail. There is the driveway is not used. And that space there. We had discussions about trying to find a way to get a bike rack there. So it is A, next to the greenway, and B, a safe pull-off for people and fully accessible to both the community and the public.
I'm sorry, which are you talking about, at the corner of Albany and South End, or the one?
Albany and West.
Albany, West, right.
Yeah. There's a driveway there
Yep,
that
I know.
Brookfield no longer uses. They refuse to use it for delivery staging. It's not used at all. And instead, the community is left having arguments about putting it. We want to support people riding bikes. That's not it.
Yes.
But the key is you can't crush the small businesses that are already suffering. And the only place that somebody could have unloaded a truck and been next to the curb was right where they put the bikes.
Yep.
So now you have the bikes and the truck parked in the travel lane, or the truck parked in the median.
Yep.
It's
not a good place for the bikes.
No.
Yes, so we should certainly have the conversation with DOT. I want to set expectations though, just here, amongst us friends. I'm not going to lead the dialogue because I can't commit to leading a dialogue on a program that's not our program. However, certainly happy to be part of those conversations with you all as we kind of seek to address some of the concerns that came up. But I just, at the end of the day, City Bike is not ours. We, want to be consulted as you guys are, and we have good partners in DOT who deal with a lot of issues, I'm sure, across the city. Who have their own inputs about the decisions they need to make, but certainly want to continue the conversation. Sure.
And I've heard from already residents in the neighborhood who were dismayed as its location when there are other open spaces for it.
Yeah. Because no
Okay.
one is saying we don't want more bike racks for City
No,
Bike.
no,
We just
right.
don't want it there.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a
Okay.
lot. Appreciate it.
Justine, is there anything else? I just had a couple of things. So and thank you all. I neglected to mention that this is a Marianne Braverman special. Just I'm kind of getting it like a little bit of a teaser. But the Omni system, which is the new kind of tap entry to the subway, you could use your phone, Omni. Marianne had kindly emailed us a while back about getting some type of information on that or information session. We are kind of circling the wagons on hopefully having a date where we can do like a public information session on Omni, how it applies to folks, how they can use that system, especially if you're a senior and you don't necessarily want to use your credit card to pay. So we're putting the finishing touches on hopefully having a date for that. I would hope in the latter part of June, but once I have that calendared, we'll get that out. We'll probably try and do it in 6 River Terrace. So that would be a nice thing to do as they continue to get closer, believe it or not, to completely phasing out their MetroCard, which I'm a dinosaur. I love my MetroCard. So we're going to have to, I guess, just that's the way the world has changed.
Wow.
And then to set expectations for the Northwest as well, Lucian, another thing to add to your list because you have nothing on it as it is. I got to connect with you and the leadership team, the idea date toward the latter end of June to do the next Northwest public meeting. I know we want to pick a date that is not at odds with anything else you all have going on, which is what we usually do. We try and planning things out in close consultation with you all. So thank you for that. And then the last point is just so we have it is we do have architects and engineers on staff at the authority. Now I haven't read everyone's CV, so I don't know if there's a difference between architects and engineers. I know we have architects for sure, but like anything else, and as we've discussed, I think the mark or one of the marks of an intelligent person is knowing that they don't know everything, right? You're sometimes painfully aware of the things you don't know. So even though we have folks who are architects, that doesn't mean we still don't want to have that outside expertise of folks who kind of operate and live and breathe in that specific specialization of architecture or landscape architecture of an expertise that we couldn't possibly have across the full spectrum at the authority. One of the examples, though, just if it's beneficial to the community, is one of the things that we heard over the course of our work so far is some of the great work that's being done on the Living Breakwaters project. That's on the South Shore of Staten Island. I'm sure you guys have known about that, where they're using this necklace of offshore breakwaters that reduce risk and they connect ecologies and residents. One of the firm behind that is Scape Landscape Architecture. And Scape, as you know, is one of the partners in the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project. So we have really some of the best people in the world on the project. And Kate Orff, who's I believe the founder or principal of Scape Architecture, who was just named Time 100's like one of the most influential people in the world. So really we are honored and pleased to bring really just some of the top talent out there to bear to meet these challenges in a very real way. And again, to have the coordination and partnership of the community, as kind of contentious as it may be sometimes, I really do believe makes for a better end product. So, and that's something that is shared across the authority. It's not always easy because they're tough decisions to make, but we think we end up with something better as a result. So that's it. Thank you.
Great. No, wait, don't go anyplace because Barbara Ireland has her hand raised. So,
Oh, hey, Barbara.
Lucian, please unmute Barbara. Go ahead, Barbara.
You, just a few questions, Nick, about public safety.
Yes.
The roads up by Stuyvesant were repaved. And since you're talking to the Department of Transportation, there still is not a crosswalk to get from North End Avenue to the high school. So if you could put that on your list, if you're having a conversation with them.
Yes, hold on one second, sweetheart. I'm sorry. So North End Avenue, as you're crossing, I'm trying to get it in my mind's eye.
You and
As
I
you're crossing
crossed there to
Chambers
go to the
or
Reach.
crossing?
Right. There's no crosswalk. There's no lines on the street.
Oh, okay.
It's a public safety issue.
Okay. As you're basically crossing, as you're crossing Chambers from North End Avenue to the
Correct.
front of Stockton High School. so to
Yeah,
say. Okay.
exactly. Thank you.
Yourself, go ahead.
Can I make
Okay.
a comment about that?
And
I can
yes,
tell you there never was a crosswalk on the west side of the street. There was a crosswalk on North End Avenue on the east side of the street going, because I've dealt with this many times. And the reason that people were allowed to, the rule has since changed. The people that teachers would park in front of the curb cut was because there wasn't a crosswalk there. And so I went round and round with the DOT and why couldn't we get a crosswalk? And they gave me all the reasons why they couldn't do it. But there wasn't one there. I can vouch for that.
and so it
was on the
still
east
isn't
side.
one.
Well, it still isn't, but there never was. So they
never
don't need to
was.
replace something that wasn't there.
Huh.
She's talking
Well-
about the east side of the street.
East or west, there's not one on either corner.
Well, there shouldn't be on the west side, but on the east side.
East side
I
there
didn't
should
look.
be.
So east side. All right, I'll check. I'll check on the east side. Okay. At least who
Also,
knows?
You
Maybe
can ask
we
for the
get
west
one
side
back.
too, but go ahead, Barbara.
also a public safety issue. When you walk across West Thames towards the blue garage, the crosswalk has this huge bump in it underneath the bridge. So if you walk across across West Street on West Thames, it's a huge raise. It's very difficult for walkers, scooters, baby carriages.
These are the wide
Nick,
kind of like granite
Excuse me a
slabs.
minute. This is Mary Ann. Nick, I've sent you many emails about that over the years. It seems to get worse. And then there's a big
It's a
depression
hill.
in one location
Is
that
this
fills
is
with
this the
water
same one
and
that you had emailed
freezes.
about? This is the same one that you emailed about? I think Barbara.
Yeah, in the
Barbara
middle
may
of
be referring
West
to the same
Street,
one?
when you're crossing over near the from West Thames over by the Battery Tunnel.
Yep. I think I know what you're talking
And
about.
Betty, you and I talked about
I
it
think
once
that
when
they-
we were looking around the neighborhood. You can't.
It's a mountain.
Up it. I mean, somebody rolling their own wheelchair would not be able to get up it. And then the danger is they'd slide right down into the traffic once they made it to the top.
It's in the
Okay.
street or it's on the sidewalk?
No,
It's in the median.
in the island, in the middle
Yeah,
of
the
West Street, as you cross over at ground level. And
Thank you for reminding me. So I had asked about this. I believe it's State DOT that we needed to follow up on.
whatever.
I'm just
And I
saying
have
again, I
found
want
that
to
I
set
have a-
expectations about what we can control and what we can't, but I will revisit it
Pester
and make
them.
sure that
Time out. Time out.
I find out what the
please.
timeline is for repair to the extent that they are scheduled for repair.
The reason I brought it to you, Nick, and also to Betty on some of these matters, the other thing is there have been lights out at that intersection. And I go on 311 to report it, and I can't because what I'm saying does not fit what they want in their boxes. It's not it's not the kind of intersection that they want. And they want an address. You know, there are things they want, I've written it in the email, that has blocked me from making progress. And I did make good progress when they did a terrible job on the other side of the garage with paving that was done. And then a big truck ripped it all up. And it was impossible and dangerous to walk across. And I reported that efficiently to 311. And in 2 months, as they predicted, it was repaired. So I know they can do the job if they get it, but they're too, I'm getting a little loud, sorry. They're so restricted on what you can put in what box. And so it's hard to really communicate to them about something that doesn't perfectly fit. And the West Thames, when you cross under the bridge and over to the other side of West Street, you know,
All right.
repeatedly it's dark at night. There are multiple streetlights out. And I
Okay.
don't know any other, I don't know how,
No,
somebody
but-
has to know somebody and make a call.
So Nick, just follow up. This is Barbara's dying
Thank you.
here. Let's keep going,
Thank
Barbara.
you. Thank you.
No, I got
The
it. I
other
got
thing
both
is, Nick, it really was going to be directed to Pat about the safety issues as far as the number of speeding bicycles. They're the motorized bikes on the Esplanade. The city bikes that are gray are a faster model. I don't know what your Pat's guys can do about it, but in front of the Brookfield, they're supposed to be dismounting, and those guards are not asking those people to dismount during the summertime. They say that nobody listens to them. So I hope this summer we have a different principle. And secondly, in North Battery Park City, there was some harassment going on, and I hope the allied people were called into that sexual harassment going on. And many dogs have been off the leash, running around and in the basketball courts off of Rector Park.
Yep.
And then my last comment is about Greg's proposal. As someone that has been on many a Wagner Park call over the years and to nearly all of the REACH meetings, I still have a hard time explaining to people what's happening. And yes, there is some trust issues as has gone on with Battery Park City and my affordability issue with ground rent. But I do applaud having Battery Park City have a voice to the community, like I've heard you have outlined on this project. And if it's not your person, a candidate like Greg has mentioned would help bring the community voice and understanding and reason. Many of these CB1 calls that we have about resiliency do not have all the experts on the call at the same time. So my 2 cents is I applaud applaud having a public advocate. And if $100,000 is the cost, it's very small compared to the billions that we're going to be spending on these resilience projects, covering not only Battery Park City, but financial district and down at the Battery. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Barbara.
Barbara, I'm sorry, one question. Can I ask, you had mentioned something about harassment. I'm sorry, I thought I wasn't listening to the rest of it, but
All
can
right,
you
I can
elaborate a little
send
bit
it to
more?
you.
Yeah, send it to me.
Line
I don't
on
know
the
if,
interest of time.
yeah,
Yeah,
please
no,
send it to me. I want to
let's
make sure
do
it gets
that
to the
too,
right folks.
because I saw something, but it was like in a chat thing.
Yes.
So I don't want to be broadcasting that on
Yeah, no,
a recorded
please
line because it's a
send
chat.
it to
Doesn't mean
me.
it's not true. I just don't know.
No,
Thank you.
send it to
So
me. I mean, the
so
one thing
yeah.
obviously I would always caution, if it's a crime in progress or a dangerous situation, your first call should be to 911. It doesn't mean you can't send it to me or call the ambassadors and they can escalate it. But nonetheless, that's serious. So send it and
According
we'll
to
get
the
it. We'll get it
chat,
to the right
they
folks.
did.
Thank you.
They
Yes.
did. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
they did. And Barbara, when you send it, just copy me.
Okay,
Just when I know
thanks.
it's done, and we'll have it as part of the record, but not this way.
Great.
So thank you
Okay.
so much. Anybody else? No, I will say then, maybe we can call this meeting to a close. Yay, I see Marianne clapping and Betty. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for your time. Nick, thank you for being patient and listening to everything. And
Great meeting.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it was good. Thank you for listening, and see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Talk
all.
soon.
Bye.
Thanks again.